Our reporter Tony Fisher has more details.
The prosecution claimed that over many years the Irish travelling family recruited and then held captive vulnerable individuals, maybe over 100, whom they forced to work on their block paving business. The men were recruited either off the street or centres for homeless or soup kitchens. In this trial, the charges relate to 4 victims in the period between April 2010 and September 2011. After the police raided the site, one of them said it was like a millstone had been lifted.
A teenager's been issued with a 5-year football banning order after he ran onto a pitch and attacked Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. 17-year-old Joshua Sanders jumped on Jordan Archer back in February as he prepared to take a goal kick during a game with Gillingham. David Cameron will lead tributes to Lady Thatcher when Parliament meets in a specially convened session later on. MPs will discuss the legacy of the former Prime Minister who died 2 days ago, aged 87. A separate debate will be held in the House of Lords. The funeral of Lady Thatcher will take place at St Paul's Cathedral in London next Wednesday. Now, a Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on his back, "Please new to this cat," in red pen, says it's shocked the community. Sharon Munns thinks her 11-year-old cat Bex may have been mistaken for another one in the area. Well, reporter Justin Dealey's on his way to meet Sharon and her pet, but in the meantime, pet psychologist Roger Mugford will be explaining the effects of shaving an animal to Iain Lee here on BBC Three Counties Radio in the next hour. And let's turn to sport, and MK Dons have moved within 4 points of League One playoffs with 4 games to go after their win over Swindon last night. Meantime, Luton Town won their first match in 5 as they beat Lincoln 3-0 in the conference. So weather for Beds, Herts and Bucks, and it's cold, damp start, but then bright and sunny come the afternoon. Temperatures double figures, 10 degrees Celsius, that's 50 in Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
My dangly thing's just broken. My microphone stand is a little bit... If you hear a loud bang and I go all muffled, it means the equipment has failed us. So don't panic. We'll get through it. I don't quite know how. I'll have to shout. Get a rolled up bit of newspaper and shout through it. Good morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots coming up this morning, including Bruce Springsteen, Queen, David Bowie. They're not all coming up this morning. That's a little bit misleading. But what do they all have in common? Yes, no, it's not that they're all pop singers. It's that they've all performed at the National Bowl in Milton Keynes over the years. And yet the venue now attracts few big names. There might be one huge concert a year. Well, we've got some exclusive news about how the site is going to be used in the future. Imagine your cat comes home from a night out only to have had some of its fur shaved off and the words, "Please neuter your cat," written in red pen. Well, that's exactly what happened to one Bedford woman. Her cat had already been neutered. Why do you lot hate cats so much? And at what age are you too old to have children? There's been a big increase in the number of women having kids over the age of 40. Is that right, do you think? Lots of ways you can get in touch. You can go to facebook.com/BBC3CR, or you can give me a phone call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, BBC Three Counties Radio has exclusively been told that the National Bowl, which has attracted huge acts from the likes of Michael Jackson to Queen and David Bowie, is now looking to have more regular but smaller concerts. It currently holds up to 65,000 people, but only attracts one big music act a year. Well, our reporter Jessica Cooper can tell us more. Jessica, what's the bowl used for at the moment if it's not for big gigs?
Well, at the moment, Iain, it does still have some big concerts, but the point is that they're not there very often, usually about once a year.
Yep.
The sign outside the front kind of tells you what to expect. It lists a garden show this year, a car boot sale every week,
wow,
and a car auction. There's no mention of any music acts coming up this year, and that has been the case for a while. That sign has looked like that. It is used by the Milton Keynes Cycling Association. They use it regularly for training and racing, but really not much for music.
A car boot sale every weekend. I'm a fan of the car boot, but it's not the most glamorous way of filling a fantastic venue like this, is it?
No, and some people have said it's not really making the most of the venue because it only uses part of the bowl. It's not like in the centre area where the music acts would be. It did start life as a music venue in 1979, and it's really quite unique in its size and its shape, the fact that it's open air, and it's been home to some huge acts.
Well, UB40 have started playing, so I think it's time to interrupt that bland reggae.
So you heard the likes of UB40, Queen, also played host to Michael Jackson, Robbie Williams, Bruce Springsteen, basically massive acts, massive crowds. But over the years, it seems that the acts have kind of been attracting more younger crowds. Most people do agree that something needs to be done to make it used more. One man who lives nearby yesterday told me that he says it's a white elephant now. It only caters for young people and it's underused, which is why the operators have now told us that they're looking to attract smaller acts, possibly with crowds of about 30,000.
But it's designed to hold 65,000. Why are they going for smaller acts?
Well, they will still do the big gigs. Actually, they're looking to potentially increase capacity to 75,000, but that's for the really big events, which don't happen very often. And I'm being told that it's actually getting really difficult to try and attract a big enough act to fill the bowl. There don't seem to be many around anymore.
Well, there's not many acts that kind of play stadiums, really, or do stadium tours across the country.
No, I mean... people were saying to me that actually the Emirates is used quite a lot, and Wembley. There is still a need for some kind of open event, but it's quite hard to compete for the bowl, to compete with the likes of Emirates and Wembley. So the idea of having these smaller concerts is that it can be used more often. The operators have said that at the moment, every time there's a big event, they have to bring in the infrastructure. So if they put in toilets and power supplies and lighting and everything, it's going to make it cheaper and therefore more appealing to acts. Basically, needing the venue to be used more often for entertainment, and that's what the local people want to.
Well, let's have a listen to what they say.
Maybe they could look at putting something separate within the bowl, if you like, just for the smaller gigs, which, would be ideal, I think, and maybe put that undercover.
I think it could be used for more, perhaps, shows, and in the summer, when we get a summer, more outdoor activities, maybe.
It doesn't have to be just music events. You're happy to just see it being used in any way?
Exactly, yes. Any way it can be.
Carry on doing what they're doing, but more regularly maybe. It's good for the concerts and that, but could be used a little bit more.
I guess part of it is that people... Well, I certainly don't want to sit outside. It's such a risky thing to gamble on the weather. Even in the summer, to sit outside for a concert. Wonderful when it's sunny, but when it's chucking it down... Horrible experience.
A lady said to me yesterday, actually, even if she bought tickets to go to something at the bowl, if it was raining, she wouldn't go.
Really? This comes at a time, doesn't it, when plans are being discussed to bring more sport to the bowl?
Yes, this isn't the first time that there have been development plans for the bowl. We've been talking about it for quite a few years. In the past, we've heard about a new greyhound track, also skateboard park, pavilion, all of which didn't happen. But what has changed recently is the ownership of the bowl has transferred from the Homes and Communities Agency to Milton Keynes Development Partnership. So it might mean that we will see more changes soon. They're basically looking at a range of options with the council to make sure it's used for entertainment, sport and leisure. And they're also looking how to use the adjacent Elfield Park. But as I said, the bowl is already being used for sport. It's been used for cycling and has been for 30 years. They want to now create a centre of excellence there. The MK Dons are also looking at the possibility of having a training facility, and the National Badminton Centre and Badminton England have already submitted plans for a new headquarters on the site. So we could be seeing quite a lot more sport there in the future. I'm told these plans could be formalised within 3 months. So
and that's all very exciting. It's all very exciting. It's brilliant that it's going to use, because it's an amazing place. But, badminton is it's not really going to fill it and make the full potential of this building.
No, but I think the idea is that the acts still go to the entertainment part, which is the actual bowl shape, and around there's quite a lot of empty land. So the idea is to rejuvenate the whole area, make it more appealing to businesses and sport, and be bringing people in and just making sure that it's just not sitting empty, really.
OK, excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Have you been to the Milton Keynes Bowl? What did you see? Who did you see there? And what would you like to see done with it? Is it a shame that it's not being used for these big concerts anymore? 08459 455 555.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you call love, but confess you've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthin', and you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be a-changin'. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. You keep playing where you shouldn't be playing, and you keep thinking that you'll never get burned. Ha! I just found me a brand new box of matches, yeah. And what he knows you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Ever been to Milton Keynes Bowl? Who did you see? I've only ever been to, I think, one stadium gig. I don't like stadiums. Too big. I went to see the Eagles. Went to see the Eagles with Maxie Allen. Yes, I did. It was, you won't know who that is, sorry, it's someone who works in radio. And we met, he said, I'm going to be a little bit late, I've got the tickets, but I'll meet you at the station and we'll go and we'll only miss, like, the beginning, okay? The opening act was the Dixie Chicks, who I didn't know at the time, but, man, I loved them that. Anyway, we got there and the Eagles were playing, we're like, oh, we missed the beginning, never mind. And we sat down, and literally, as soon as we sat down, they went, OK, thanks, we'll be back in half an hour. We'd missed the entire first act, and those tickets cost a fortune. 08459 455 555. Have you been to the Milton Keynes Bowl, and what have you seen? Just to go off on a slight tangent, yesterday, I don't want to break some sad news to you, but I don't know if you know Mrs. Margaret Thatcher's passed away. Well, we were talking about it yesterday, and I mentioned that I thought she'd invented Mr. Whippy. And I was poo-pooed. I think it may have been Mary and Hemel who poo-pooed me. Well, I'd like to thank Andrew Murray, who sent me a little link about the history of Mr. Whippy. And it turns out I was right. Margaret Thatcher invented Mr. Whippy. One important, to quote from this website, mrwhippyicecream.co.uk, one important development in the 20th century was the introduction of soft ice cream, like Mr. Whippy uses. A chemical research team in Britain, of which a young Margaret Thatcher was a member, discovered a method of doubling the amount. Mrs. Thatcher invented Mr. Whippy. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. 08459 455 555. 6:15. Here's the travel news now with Adam Glynn.
Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
All this talk of ice cream, and I now want a Mr. Whippy at 6:15 in the morning.
Would you have a?
With that.
Would you like a flake in that, sir?
Yes, please.
Some strawberry sauce, nuts.
No, I can do without nuts.
Good. Good for you. Away you go, Adam.
The A41 in Kingswood. Temporary traffic lights are up for electricity work near Grendon Road. Through St Albans, water main work along Folly Lane. It's near the junction with Westview Road, and hopefully those works will be done in the next day or so. And in Bedford, they're still doing work on St John Street, part of the A6, roadworks near the London Road junction. It's been quite a good start. Things are looking clear on the cameras at present, and on the rail departure boards we've got no reported problems or delays. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. Morning, it's 6:16, it's Wednesday the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. There are plans for more regular, smaller concerts at the National Bowl in Milton Keynes. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men in servitude continues today. In sport, MK Dons have moved to within 4 points of the League One playoffs after their win over Swindon last night. The weather today for Beds, Hearts and Bucks, a cold, damp start. Bright and sunny spells through the late morning and into the afternoon. Maximum temperature is 10 degrees. Coming up, at what age are you too old to have children? Well, there's been a big increase in the number of women having kids beyond the age of 40. I'm keen to get your views on this. Do you think that there should be an age limit? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer, across Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
As you may know, probably my favourite day of the working week has to be Friday. Why? Well, it's the day where I get out of the studio and travel around the three counties meeting local people.
Nick Coffer.
And this Friday, I'm in the Bedfordshire village of Stagston. There'll be live music from Indy Ford, handbell ringing, the Bedfordshire Young Farmers, and I'll be learning how to pick the perfect cow.
Nick Coffer.
So come along and meet the BBC Three Counties radio team Friday from 12 at the Royal George in Stagston.
Nick Coffer, BBC Three Counties Radio.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men in servitude and forcing them to carry out unpaid labour will continue today. Tommy Connors and 3 of his sons from the Green Acres caravan site near Leighton Buzzard deny the charges at Luton Crown Court. Well, our reporter Tony Fisher was in court yesterday. Morning, Tony. Tell us the outline of this case, please.
Well, Ian, the prosecution claimed that over many years the Irish travelling family, the Connors family, recruited and then held captive vulnerable individuals, perhaps over 100, it says, whom they forced to work on their block paving business without payment. These charges relate to the period between April 2010, which is when the law, this particular section of the law, Section 71 of the Coroners and Justice Act, came into force, and September 2011, which was when the police raided the site. Now, these men were recruited either off the street or centres for homeless or soup kitchens, and as well as work, block paving work, they did door-to-door canvassing at the weekends, as well as cleaning vehicles and cleaning the site generally near Leighton Buzzard. So it was a 7-day-a-week operation. Now, we were told yesterday most of the workers did escape, but this case concerns 4 victims who were found when the police raided the site in September 2011, as I say. In many cases, it was a sort of a quid pro quo type existence. That's my words. I mean, it was work in return for shelter and food. And although the men weren't sort of physically imprisoned, the prosecution say, and I quote, they lacked the will to get away from the Connors family, who were corralling, exploiting and infantilising them. And the prosecution went on to say that evidence suggests that substantial amounts of money have been made by the Connors family through this exploitation of the labour of their workers.
And the charges relate to servitude and forced labour, is that right?
That's right. Specifically, servitude and forced labour. Servitude and forced labour under Section 71, as I've already mentioned, of the Coroners and Justice Act 2009. And the characteristics broadly were of this servitude and forced labour that the men there were threatened with violence. They had their passports taken away. There was no official contract of employment or anything like that. No tax paid, no PAYE, nothing like that. They were housed in very poor accommodation, sort of sheds and camper van type of facilities. And no shower facilities, really. There was one toilet on the site. They had to go to sort of nearby garage to get washed. There was a kettle. That was the only means of getting hot water. They were given misleading information on the prospects of their employment. And basically, they were just more or less isolated from the outside world.
And the prosecution has so far told the jury about the cases of 2 of the victims?
So far, yes. There are 4 victims with this particular trial. So with 4 victims so far, we've heard about 2. We haven't heard them. They haven't been called, but the prosecution say that when the police, after they were found, the police, one of them told he used to get black eyes. He was promised things which weren't delivered. He said it was all right to begin with. He'd been there about 15 years. He said after 9 to 10 years, they were down to 1 meal a day. He said he was afraid to leave as he thought the Traveller family would go after him. The prosecution say they weren't paid, but there was some sort of form of pocket money. And he said in 15 years of working, he reckoned he got about £80. He told police he'd been punched in the eyes by Tommy Connors Sr. Once so hard, he said he fell over a bush. And in fact, Tommy Connors Sr. has been convicted of assaulting this victim on a number of occasions. And he was told, this victim, by the Connors family that he was good for nothing on a number of occasions, and threatened by Tommy Connors Sr., saying he would, in quotes, break his face. And when he was found in September 2011, he had old fractures to the right ankle and 2 of his ribs.
What about the other victim we've heard about?
Well, he told police that generally work would start at 5 a.m., finish about 7 or 8 p.m., and as I said earlier, it was a 7-day-a-week operation, so they were worked pretty hard. They said fights were organised amongst the travellers, sometimes watched by 200 to 300 other travellers, and this victim was told, you're in the yard, you stay in the yard, you do not leave the yard. He said he was aware his work was worth around £20,000 a week. Meanwhile, quotes, he had been scratching around for a piece of bread. When police found him, he had a fractured bone in his back, was suffering from scurvy. However, after the raid on the site, he said it was if a millstone had been lifted, and, quotes, it was like winning the lottery.
And finally, Tony, the defendants deny the charges?
The defendants deny, yes. The 4 members of the Connors family, as I say, charged in relation to the 4 victims with conspiracies to commit offences of servitude and forced labour under Section 71 of the Coroners and Justice Act. 53-year-old Tommy Connors Sr., his sons, 27-year-old Tommy Connors Jr., 25-year-old James Connors, 21-year-old Patrick Connors, deny the charges. And I should just mention, this is a retrial, and we've heard that Tommy Connors Sr. and Patrick Connors have already been found guilty of some offences, but the prosecution told the jury that for the most part they need to ignore the fact that there was a previous trial and just to concentrate on this case.
Tony Fisher, thank you very much indeed.
There's a boy with his head pressed up to the window, the bus headed out of town. His breath on the glass, he draws with his finger the map of the roads they go down. And circles of streetlights, the only signal. There's people out there in the black. And he waves goodbye, the town he grew up in, knows that he'll never come back. Oh, but the night outside is far below, his heart is pumping blood. On his lips a perfect smile, his eyes begin to flood. 'Cause tonight's the kind of night where everything could change. Tonight's the kind of night where everything could change. And the rumble strip clack and the rattling frame, the outer pulse on his head. The engine hums a humble tune, a melody of rubber and lead. And under lamplight glow and paradise stars, an infinity of dancing white light. He sees that his death is to experience only, and not to those who plan out his life. Oh, but the night outside is far below, the moon is in the sky. His heart is full of perfect joy, he whispers his goodbye. 'Cause tonight's the kind of night change. And tonight is not gonna come back home. Oh, tonight is not gonna come back home. Oh, tonight is not gonna come back home. Oh, tonight's the kind of night where everything could change. Tonight's the kind of night where everything could change. Tonight's the kind of night where everything...
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up shortly, when is too old to be a parent? Should women be having children over the age of 40? And what about dads as well? You do hear about dads, or men becoming dads, in their 60s, their 70s. Didn't Des O'Connor sire a child at the age of 72? That doesn't feel fair to me on anybody. Won't be fair on Des. Won't be fair on the child. Or have I got this completely wrong? 08459 455 555. I feel old having a 1-year-old, now nearly 40. I'll be 55 when he's 15. Imagine that. He's 20, I'll be 60. I might not live to see my youngest son get married. At what age? How old is too old to have kids? 08459 455 555. If you're an older parent, mum or dad, really keen to get your thoughts on this morning. 08459 455 555. Or maybe you had your kids young, you think, oh no, I should have waited a bit. Should have waited a bit. Should have done it when I was a bit older. And there shouldn't be any operation. I mean, yeah, the risks are marginally increased for the child if the mum's a bit older, but with advances in medicine and technology and treatments, it's not such a big deal these days. Facebook.com/BBC3CR, or you can send me a text 81333. Start your text 3CR. We've had a text already from Jill. Says you're too old when your body is unable to produce a baby naturally. Well, really, Jill, because women can have babies into their 40s, but the risks of some form of defect are increased the older you get. Is that right? 08459 455 555. On the subject of the Milton Keynes Bowl, David in Houghton Regis says Milton Keynes Bowl has had its day when you can sit or stand in 32,000, but the MK Stadium has better facilities. Well, what do you think? When was the last time you went there? What was the last act you saw? Should they be doing more to try and get bigger acts? 08459 455 555. Right, travel news now. Adam Glynn.
Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
25 roadworks aren't really causing delays yet this morning. Bear in mind, of course, they're still ongoing between the A1M at junction 23 and the A10 at junction 25. Major routes to and from London across the three counties are all running nicely, like the A10 and the A1M. The M1 and the M40 are both looking clear on the cameras as well. Some works in Bedford along Cemetery Road, the B560. They're doing works around the junction with the High Street. That can cause traffic to slow a little. On the trains, generally, everything running fine. We've got one cancellation. It's the 652 from High Wycombe through to Banbury, which unfortunately is cancelled because a member of the train crew is unavailable. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Again, we have this vague... What is he? Is he having a long wee? Did his alarm not go off? What's happening with these train crew?
He's lost.
He could be. Adam, thank you very much indeed. Right, coming up to 6:30, time for your news and sport with Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. There are plans for more regular, smaller concerts at the National Bowl in Milton Keynes. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of slavery charges continues today. Meanwhile, a teenager's been given a 5-year football ban after he ran onto a pitch and attacked a Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. And David Cameron will lead tributes to Lady Thatcher when Parliament meets in a specially convened session later on. That's the news. Now let's turn to the morning sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good news for MK Dons. They've moved to within 4 points of League One playoffs with only 4 games to go. It comes after their win over Swindon last night. The Dons won 2-0 with Matthias Doumbé and Ryan Lowe scoring. Manager Carl Robinson's not ruling out promotion.
We should now only be sitting 2 points behind Swindon and not 4. But we are where we are, and we're in the mix now, and we're a big game away at Leyton Orient at the weekend, and that's going to be a big ask for everybody involved.
Elsewhere, Wycombe Wanderers suffered a 2-0 defeat against Burton Albion in League 2. The Chairboys conceded 2 goals after the break. Player-manager Gareth Ainsworth thought it was the right result, though.
I thought first half we competed quite well. They probably had their spoils, but we had a couple of chances and a lot of set plays we didn't capitalise on. But then second half, the early goal really killed us, and it was tough to get back into it.
In the conference, Luton Town won their first match in 5 as they beat Lincoln 3-0 at Kenilworth Road. Ryan Martin scored 2 and Andre Gray got the other. In Conference South then, Boreham Wood's playoff chances were dented as they lost 2-1 at home to Havantton Waterlooville. In Conference North, Bishop Stortford drew 1-1 at Halifax and Bedford suffered a 4-0 defeat at Gosport in the Southern Premier. So turning elsewhere, and Borussia Dortmund scored 2 injury time goals to scratch a dramatic 3-2 victory over Malaga. They've now secured a place in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Meantime, Real Madrid suffered a second half onslaught from Galatasaray, but they've reached the last 4 for a record 24th time. And finally, the 4 times Masters champion Tiger Woods has been grouped with Britain's golfer Luke Donald and American Scott Piercy for the first 2 rounds of this week's tournament in Augusta. BBC Three Counties Radio will bring you more from me at 7.
Across Beds, Hearts and Bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning! 6:32 on a Wednesday morning. Who'd have thought such a time even existed? Coming up between now and 7 o'clock, you got a cat, okay? Your cat goes out for a little night on the town as it does, seeing its cat friends, having a cat party. It comes home, you think, well, this looks a bit odd. You find out it's had some of its fur shaved off and the words, "Please neuter your cat," written in red pen. Well, that's exactly what happened to one Bedford woman. Well, happened to her cat. And the thing is, her cat had already been neutered. Why do people hate cats so much? We've had this discussion before. Cards on the table. I'm a cat person. Totally a cat person. How could anyone do that to a cat? Now, when is too old to have a baby? A study has found that the number of women choosing to have children after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300% since 1992. Celebrities like Elton John, Michael Douglas and Sarah Jessica Parker have all had kids in their 40s, 50s and beyond. But does that make it right? Our reporter, Justin Dealey, has been out finding what you think. Justin, let's put our cards on the table. I'm a father. You're not. You haven't got kids?
No, I'm 32 years old and I want children as soon as possible.
Oh, OK, Justin. 32 years old. OK. No, if that's what you want to be today, Justin.
Yes.
Justin Dealey, 32 years old.
Yes, absolutely true.
Let's update that Wikipedia page, shall we? Let's round that figure down. So,
thank you.
You've been out and about. What have people been saying about this?
Well, I mean, this increase, almost 300%, that's massive. That shocked me. I've been getting the views of people in Luton. Some of those views quite controversial. This is what people had to say. Rachel, you're 29.
Yeah.
How many children have you got?
I have 3 children.
And when was your first? How old were you?
I was 21 when I had my first child.
So when do you think a lady is too old to have a baby?
I'd say about 45, maybe even 40, because you need to do things with your children. I mean, you need to be fit enough, you need to be active enough to do things.
Let me ask you this finally. If you knew somebody in their mid-50s and they said to you, Sarah, I'm thinking about having another child, what would you say to them?
I think they're mad. I think they're crazy, because I think there was a time to do that.
And would you actually say that to them?
In your 20s and your 30s? Yeah, I would. I'm quite an honest person, so yeah, I would.
OK, madam, who's here today then?
Bonnie, he's 10 months, and Isabel, 4.
When do you think you are too old to have a child?
About 40.
Can you tell us why?
I think, young mums are more agile to get around and things like that. And I'm a young mum and I feel it's better for me to have children younger. And I think maybe when you hit 40, it might be a bit late, Well,
wait. Who's this little fella here then today?
This is Riley.
Your child?
Nah, it's my sister's kid.
And how old's Riley?
He's 1.
And when do you think it's too old for somebody to have a baby?
I'd say about 50. Because you need a young mum when you're growing up, innit? Like, they can play with you and, do stuff. And if, say you have a baby at 50, by the time your kid's 10, they're 60. They won't be able to do normal stuff.
Actually, how many children have you got?
I've actually got 5.
5 children?
Yes, I have.
Fantastic. How old were you when you had your first child?
I was 15.
15?
Yes, and I wouldn't go back and do that again.
Yeah.
I'd advise any young mums to actually enjoy their life first, but then again, I wouldn't change the time that I had with my little one either, so each person's life is their own. So if you look at it on a separate basis, a woman can be 55, just met the love of her life, yeah, right time to have a baby. If not, that could be why she's never had them, so...
And just lastly, if one of your friends was thinking about having a baby at 55 and somebody was saying, I think it's wrong, would you step in and say there, right away, no, your opinion doesn't count for anything, it's up to her, not you?
Yes, I would stand there and say that, because at the end of the day, that woman, the other woman who's saying no, don't have it, hasn't got a bearing on her life. She's not living her life for her, she's not waking up every day being her, so she has no right to say that she can't have that kid.
Feisty, aren't you?
Yes,
You've got to be feisty with 5 kids when you had the first one at 15, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, incredible story, absolutely incredible.
OK, I don't know what the cut-off point is, but being a mum at 55, too old. Too old.
Well,
there are medical reasons.
I mean, everyone is going to have an opinion on this, but I think you mentioned celebrities' names such as Elton John, Michael Douglas, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
It's all right for those people because they've got lots of money. Those people don't live in the real world. And, of course, these figures kind of mirror what celebrities are doing, which I'm sure is a concern for many people.
I do worry as well about older dads. I think I've got this right, and I'm sorry if I'm doing him a disservice. Des O'Connor fathered a child at 72.
I believe so.
That can't be fair on the kids. You know, he's not going to be around for much longer.
Yeah, I know. Again, when that baby was born, a lot of people had, again, various opinions on that. If you talk to Des, he would say that he's very much enjoying bringing up his latest child. But, of course, 70 is probably pushing it, I would say.
Dealey, we're talking Milton Keynes Bowl this morning. You have been there?
Never. Do you know what? I've never been to the Milton Keynes Bowl. I've been to Nebworth many times, but never, ever to the Milton Keynes Bowl.
Who would you like to see? Who do you think could fill Milton Keynes Bowls? There's not that many acts these days that can fill a big stadium like that.
Paul McCartney, maybe. Oasis, maybe. But I can't think of many others who would actually go and fill it. And that's the problem, isn't it?
If Oasis got back together again, they might be able to fill it, I think.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Justin, where are you off to now?
I'm off to Bedford. This incredible story of Sharon Munns. She let her cat out, Bex, the family pet. As you do, the cat came back, it was shaved, and somebody had written on that cat, please neuter this cat. We're going to be talking to Sharon live after 7. I mean, you just don't expect these things to happen, but it has happened, and we'll find out what's going to happen next to the cat.
Thank you, Justin. He's right. You don't expect these kind of things to happen, but it has happened. On the subject of Milton Keynes Bowl, Simon from Sandy. Morning, Simon.
Good morning, Ian.
Who have you seen at the Milton Keynes Bowl?
Oh, well, going back sort of late 80s, ZZ Top and Bryan Adams, that was 91.
Yeah.
I've seen Erasure with Jamiroquai.
What, Erasure?
Yeah, they did the Milton Keynes Bowl some years ago.
What was it? What was Erasure's song? I can't remember what their song was they did.
Oh, they've had loads.
Oh, baby, my heart is getting love and desire for you. So come in and do what I got to do.
That was them, wasn't it? Was that
probably,
them?
Yeah. It's a bit difficult to make out what that was, really.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's a bit rude, Brian. Simon, I thought I was doing quite well there. Have you got fond memories of the place?
Yeah, some, yeah. I mean, the traffic queues could be quite horrendous at times when you got 60, 70,000 in there. We've got a bit of a sort of festival atmosphere with these sort of mobile toilets and bits and pieces. Food vans,
what do you think?
The usual.
What do you think they need to do to get the big act back in there?
I don't know, have some, maybe, like they're talking about, have some permanent fixtures there, like proper restaurant facilities, proper fixed toilets, that kind of thing would help, I bet.
Simon, thank you very much indeed, and for those who missed it... Oh, baby! I got a good voice. I don't know what... I think Simon was a little bit rude there to diss my Erasure impression. I think that was Erasure, anyway, I'm not totally sure. 08459 455 555.
Your truth so purely will swerve not through the minds of men. The sly is dead. This cup of yours tastes holy, but a brush with the devil can clear your mind and strengthen your spine. And fingers tap into what you were once. And I'm worried that I blew my only chance. tap into what you were once. And I'm worried that I blew my only chance. Fingers tap into what you were once. And I'm worried that I blew my only chance.
Talking about concerts this morning, we're talking about the Milton Keynes Bowl. I went to a pop concert last night. Yeah, that's right. I went to see Emily Sandé. It was a Christmas present for my wife. It was very enjoyable. It was at the Hammersmith Odeon, which I think is a fantastic venue. Talk about great venues. What a wonderful venue. Yes, our seats had been double booked, and I turned up, and there was a grumpy-looking man and his wife. I went, "Excuse me, I think you're in my seats." Been double booked. Go and speak to that woman down there. OK, I'll go and do that. It was good. And then, I don't know any of her songs apart from the hit, and we left before that. But we did. Traffic was a nightmare. So, she's doing a concert, and then she walks off, and then a tall, slim gentleman walks on in a tuxedo, and the crowd went mental. The crowd went bonkers. Now, listen, my finger is not on the pulse of pop music anymore. And I said to my wife, "Is that Professor Green?" Because I'm aware that he's a popular young man, and I kind of thought Professor Green might come out. Turns out Professor Green is not black. I didn't know that. We didn't know who it was, and then when we're driving home, my wife Googled it. It was a gentleman whose name... He's called Labyrinth. There's a man called Labyrinth. What insanity would allow parents to... I'm assuming he was born with the name Labyrinth. Why would you christen your child Labyrinth? Anyway, Labyrinth came out and did a song, which, had I known who Labyrinth was, no doubt I would have been as ecstatic as all the middle-aged mums that were surrounding me. 08459 455 555 is the phone number if you want to give us a call. We'll have a quick look at the papers in a little bit, shall we? Plenty to talk about there. Before that, here's the travel news with Adam Glynn and Labyrinth.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Quite like to see the birth certificate on that one. I'm not sure about that. The A1, southbound in Boreham Wood. Traffic starting to build up between Stirling Corner and Apex Corner. Looking slow on the cameras around there. That's it. That's really it round about now. Everything's running fine elsewhere. I'm looking at the M25. Even through the roadworks, it's running okay. We've got no delays yet on the A414. Oh, well, actually, maybe London Coley's just a little bit slow. Park Street roundabout maybe starting to get busy. Major routes into and out of London, though, all doing fine. The A1, the M1 and the M40 are all looking good on the cameras. And on the trains, thankfully, no reported problems or delays. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. I've just had an update on Labyrinth. Apparently Labyrinth is not his real name. His real name is Timothy Mackenzie. Timothy Mackenzie. Right, 6:45. It's Wednesday, the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl are looking to have more regular, smaller concerts there. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of slavery charges continues today. In sport, MK Dons have moved to within 4 points of the League One playoffs after their win over Swindon last night. Coming up, a Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on his back, "Please neuter this cat," in red felt-tip pen, says it shocked the community in which she lives. We'll find out more on that, but before that, let's get the latest weather with Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. A bit of a chilly start to the day. It's 1 degree at Luton Airport at the moment. It's a fairly hazy start as well, bit misty and murky with some low cloud around. That will lift and we'll see some bright or sunny spells during the rest of today with light winds from the south, temperatures getting to double figures, about 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. There will, though, be some rain eventually. That's going to edge in around about dusk, I think, for our part of the world and move north as we go through the night. It will be persistent and in places a little bit on the heavy side with some winds picking up as well from a southerly direction, but it will hold the temperature at about 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. So a somewhat damp start to the day tomorrow for us. It will dry out though, and then through the afternoon some sunshine will start to break through, but that could trigger off 1 or 2 showers, which may be a bit on the heavy side, not for everyone. And temperatures will get to about 12 or 13 degrees Celsius, but it will be a little bit on the breezy side as well. The winds will be lighter on Friday. There will also be 1 or 2 showers scattered around, but some sunshine too. As for the weekend, not looking too bad at all. It looks like most of us should avoid the rain. It will go a little bit west of us, and there will be some sunshine as a result. Temperatures could get to 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. Very welcome indeed, I'm sure. That's your weather for now.
Thank you, Wendy.
BBC Introducing.
BBC Introducing is your chance to hear unsigned, undiscovered and under-the-radar music on BBC Three Counties Radio. We showcase the best emerging talent from across beds, Herts and bucks, with live sessions and exclusive recordings. And this Saturday, we're taking BBC Introducing to the Hat Factory in Luton for a free night of live music. Tune in or come down and discover music you never knew existed. BBC Introducing this Saturday night from 8 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
A Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on its back, "Please neuter this cat," in red felt tip pen, says it's shocked the community in which she lives. Sharon Munns thinks her 11-year-old cat Bex may have been mistaken for another cat in the area. Well, this morning our reporter Justin Dealey is on his way to meet Sharon and her cat. But do people have a dislike of cats more than other animals? Who can forget the incident of the cat being placed in a wheelie bin? Well, Roger Mugford is a pet psychologist. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning, Lee.
Roger, when you saw this story, what did you think?
People are so extreme in their views about cats. You either love them or you hate them. You know, you're 2 categories of human beings on the planet.
And, of course, the people that hate cats are wrong people, because, as we all know, cats are the best pets you can get.
Well, I would have a cat myself, actually, and I'm a bit of a cat lover, a would-be cat lover, but unfortunately I've got Humphrey, and Humphrey doesn't like cats. He's a sort of Staffordshire thing.
Oh, right, it's a dog, yes, I was worried there for a second.
He keeps me away from cats, but you have to feel for poor old Bex being mutilated like that.
We've done this phone in a couple of times, cats versus dogs, and there does seem to be a greater dislike of cats over other pets. Why is that?
It goes back into like thousands of years. I don't know about the Egyptians, but certainly in more recent and medieval times, of course, cats were often persecuted terribly, especially black cats, and it was all about associations with witchcraft, and it's continued right up to the current day. You know, a lot of people think it's really unlucky to have a cat. Cats are cunning and manipulative, and of course they are certainly manipulative, but so are most animals.
Why is it in the eyes of the law that cats are still seen as wild animals?
It's really interesting. Yes, indeed, Lee. They are anime ferae. They're wild animals, and they're not property. You never own a cat. And if you think about it, in our psychological relationship with cats, they are so independent. We never feel they belong to us. We're just lucky that they stick around, whereas dogs are dependent and vulnerable. And, yeah, sure, they certainly do depend on us. And, of course, in law, they are just property.
For a cat to be attacked like this and have part of it's a big chunk of fur shaved off and be written on, would that have an effect on a cat?
Well, they're very particular about grooming and keeping themselves smart, so I guess they didn't like it. And, of course, being manhandled by a stranger isn't exactly good. But actually, there's something strange about the message that was written, "Please neuter this cat," because all the welfare agencies and I myself would encourage cat owners to neuter, because at this time of the year there's going to be a massive surge in production of kittens that have sometimes difficulty in finding homes. So neutering, cats can outbreed the resources that they live in, just a bit like rats, really.
Yes, cut them off, definitely.
Cut them off, and they're much nicer people to have around, if you like, if they haven't got their dangly bits and the rest.
Roger, thank you very much indeed. Cut the cat's dangly bits off. That's a basic. Very excited. My cat Velvet's very excited. We're finally, fingers crossed, touch wood, getting the cat flap installed today. at the cost of £300. I know it's we've got to get the whole sheet of glass replaced. Very expensive. She better use it, or there'll be trouble.
First, when there's nothing but a slow glowing dream that your fear seems to hide deep inside your mind. All alone I have cried silent tears full of pride in a world made of steel, made of stone. Where I hear the music, close my eyes, feel the rhythm, wrap around, take a hold of my heart. What a feeling, feels believing. I can't have it all now, I'm dancing for my life. Take your passion and make it happen. Pictures come alive, you can dance right through your life. Now I hear the music, close my eyes, I am rhythm. In a flash, it takes hold of my heart. What a feeling, feels believing. I can't have it all now, I'm dancing for my life. Take your passion and make it happen. Pictures come alive, now I'm dancing through my life. What a
When is it too old to have a baby? A study has found that the number of women choosing to have children after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300% since 1992. Well, celebrities make it look so easy, don't they? Male and female. Elton John, Michael Douglas, Sarah Jessica Parker, and female ones have all had their children in their 40s, 50s and beyond. But does it make it right? Well, Dr Mike Ingram is a practising GP from Radlett in Hertfordshire. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning to you.
How old is too old to have a healthy baby?
Okay, well, let's be sexist about this. Men have it easy, so the age limit for men, as your listeners will understand, is not that important. It's really women having babies, and there's two things. It's a bit balanced. The first thing to say is that every few years, the advances in care of pregnant women go on, and the care that pregnant women get technically and scientifically is so much better that pregnancy gets safer and safer. So that's the positive news. But as you get older, there are greater problems in getting pregnant. And that's the problem. There's a few things to think about. One is physical age. I mean, we all feel our age as the
Oh, man, I'm feeling it this morning, Doctor. I'm really feeling it today.
Well, I bet you do. And then, if you think how you were 5 years ago and how you are now, and then put on the added burden of pregnancy, not just the physical aspect of carrying a baby around, the draining energy that people sometimes feel when they're pregnant, but just the physical aspects of coping with labour. Our muscles weaken, we know that, so labour can be more complicated. The other thing to think about as well is genetics. As we get older, our cells are less good at dividing, and the chances of faulty division and genetic errors increase.
So what kind of conditions could that lead to then?
Well, things like Down syndrome, we know is very much related to age, and that's why using amniocentesis or genetic testing in pregnancy gets more and more important the older we get. And the third thing is, the older you get, the more likely you are to develop some other disease. So if you think about it, that just is true. The longer you are around, the more likely you are, let's say, to develop high blood pressure or inflammatory bowel disease or perhaps diabetes or perhaps thyroid disease. All of these things complicate pregnancy, increase the amount of risk there is in pregnancy, and make the outcomes of pregnancy not as good. And we're forgetting for the fact that you also got to add on what you're going to be like when your kids are running around and sort of 10, 11, 12 want your time, and you're going to be that much older. I'm leaving that to the side because that's not really a medical issue, that's a social issue.
Isn't it a little bit selfish if you're an older, potentially an older mother, and there is a greater chance of your child having Down syndrome or autism or any of these conditions? Isn't that a little bit selfish?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's, well, I personally don't think it is. I think society as such makes a decision about what we feel is reasonable, and I think as a society we say, look, we recognise the importance it is for people to have children, the great benefit it is for families, for society itself, and we're willing to support people through that, even though it might put a greater strain on medical resources or other resources.
Dr. Mike,
that's a very fair judgment.
Dr. Ingham, can I say roughly what age are you?
Me, I'm about 55.
Could you handle a toddler running around now at 55?
Well, the answer is I've got some friends who became fathers in their sort of early 50s, and they do seem to be looking a bit more tired than I remember them.
Dr. Mike Ingram, thank you very much indeed. I'm 40 this year. I'm shattered with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old wanting to play pirates all the time. 08459 455 555. When is too old to have a baby? Both for mums and dads. And there is a difference in age. I think the men can be slightly older. What do you think? Mums over 40, if you're listening, give me a call. Did you get any prejudice when you said, oh yeah, I'm 43 and I'm pregnant? 08459 455 555. Travel news now, Adam Glynn.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Right now, your commute is looking like a reasonably good one if you're heading out in the car about now. Things are running nicely on most major routes. M25 starting to slow, though, in some of the usual spots, anti-clockwise in particular. From the M11 in Essex round to the A10 at Enfield and the start of the roadworks. Through the works, it's a little bit slow. Then it gets better until you get to around junction 21 at the M1. From there through to 19 at Watford is looking busy. And from junction 18 at Chorleywood to 16 at the M40 is also looking slow on the cameras. Around Boreham Wood, if you're driving in toward London on the A1, expect traffic to be building between Stirling Corner and Apex Corner. Not quite a massive queue yet, but we'll keep an eye on things. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. Right, coming up in the next hour, more on this shaved cat. And what acts did you see, or have you seen at the Milton Keynes Bowl? 08459 455 555. Here's the news and sport now with Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines: changes for the National Bowl in Milton Keynes, retrial of Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men in servitude, and footballer banned in Buckinghamshire.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The operators of the National Bowl at Milton Keynes have told BBC Three Counties they're now looking to have more regular, smaller concerts there. It currently holds up to 65,000 people, but only attracts one big music act a year. Well, Bawinder Manku, who owns the newsagent on the Furston estate, wants to see the bowl used more often.
It's not being used much at all. It's just we have a concert once in a blue moon sort of thing, and that's it. It's good for the business. It gets busy. It'd be nice if they have more of those concerts.
And stay listening as we'll be hearing from Clark Osborne, the CEO of Gaming International, the operators of the National Bowl, shortly here. He'll be speaking to Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio shortly after this bulletin. In other news, a retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues today. Tommy Connors and 3 of his sons from the Green Acres caravan site near Leighton Buzzard deny the charges, which happened between April 2010 and September 2011. The men were recruited either off the streets or from centres for homeless or soup kitchens. Now, a teenager's been issued with a 5-year footballing ban after he ran onto a pitch and attacked Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. 17-year-old Joshua Sanders jumped on Jordan Archer as he prepared to take a goal kick during a game with Gillingham. Gail Sanderson has the details.
At Medway Magistrates Court, the teenager pleaded guilty to common assault and Section 4 of the Football Offences Act. That means he's banned from attending any football match in England and Wales and overseas for the next 5 years. He ran onto the pitch in Kent during the Empower League 2 game, which was being televised on Sky Sports on February the 4th. The Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper wasn't injured as a result of the attack.
David Cameron will lead tributes to Lady Thatcher during a special session of Parliament to be held this afternoon in her honour. Both MPs and peers will reflect on the legacy of the former Conservative Prime Minister, with some of the Cabinet Ministers who served under her expected to contribute. Now, a study's found the number of women choosing to have children after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300% since 1992. Celebrities like Elton John and Michael Douglas all had their children in their 40s, 50s and beyond. But does it make it right? Well, Dr Mike Ingram is a practising GP from Radlett.
If you think how you were 5 years ago and how you are now, and then put on the added burden of pregnancy, not just the physical aspect of carrying a baby around, the draining energy that people sometimes feel when they're pregnant, but just the physical aspects of coping with labour. Our muscles weaken, we know that, so labour can be more complicated.
In football, MK Dons have moved within 4 points of the League One playoffs with now 4 games to go. It comes after their win over Swindon last night. Weather then, it's cold and damp, but then bright and sunny come the afternoon. Temperatures 10 degrees Celsius. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Good morning, dear listener. I'm just finalising the finer points, arranging the details. It's there, thank you, Ollie, of a cup of tea that's going to be made for me. Yes, that's right, that's it. I've got my own special tea bags. I know! My own special tea bags. If you'd have told me 20 years ago I'd be one of those idiots that carries around his own special tea bags in his bag, oh, I'd have laughed at you. I'd have laughed at you if you suggested I'd have a bag. I have both bag and tea bag. Lots coming up on the show this morning, including Bruce Springsteen, Queen, David Bowie. They're not going to be on the show, but they've all performed at the National Bowl in Milton Keynes. But that was years ago. Now it's better known for car boot sales and garden shows. Well, we have some exclusive news about how the site is going to be used in the future. And I want to hear from you this morning. Who do you remember seeing at the Bowl? Was it a fantastic concert? 08459 455 555. Imagine your cat comes home and you look at it and go, but there's something wrong. Oh no, someone's gone and shaved off some of its fur and scribbled the words "please neuter your cat" in red pen. Well, that's exactly what happened to one Bedford woman's cat. Her cat has already been neutered. Why do people hate cats so much? Well, our feline correspondent Justin Dealey is on his way to meet the cat and its owner. He'll be there in about 20 minutes. And at what age are you too old to have children? There's been a big increase in the number of women having kids beyond the age of 40. Should there be an age limit? Is it fair on the child to be an older parent? 08459 455 555. There's a picture of the shaved cat, by the way, on the Facebook page. Go and have a look and have your say. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The National Bowl at Milton Keynes has played host to huge acts such as Michael Jackson, Queen and Bon Jovi. Well, now we've been told it's looking to have more frequent, smaller concerts. It currently holds up to 65,000 people, but only attracts one big music act a year. Our reporter, Jessica Cooper, has been to the Bowl to find out what it's like now.
Here at the main entrance of the National Bowl, the sign says it all, really. There's advertising for a garden show in May, car boot sale every Sunday from 6, and a car auction. But absolutely no mention of any music act coming up this year. I've come to gate 6. I can see the steps in front of me, which is where people would go up if they were coming to a concert. And as you get to the top of those steps, you see the huge expanse of land in front of you and the open-air concert venue. It's quite a sorry sight, really. The sign, the paintwork's all very faded. It all looks quite old and dated. And the fence in front of me, there's chipped paint. It seems quite a tired area, really. The last time that thousands of people were here was last July for Swedish House Mafia. Since then, there haven't been any music events here. You've owned this shop here on the Thurston estate, just opposite the Bowl, for 25 years.
That's right,
So
yeah.
you've seen through all the changes with the Bowl. What do you think about it in its current state?
Well, it's not being used much at all. It's just we have a concert once in a blue moon sort of thing, and that's it.
And when there is a concert, what
then it
impact
gets-
does that have on you?
Well, it's good for the business. It gets busy. It'd be nice if they have more of those concerts, really.
So you'd like to see more entertainment
That's
used
right.
for the Bowl?
More use of the bowl in any sense, really.
What would you like to really see there?
Anything that makes it more lively, I suppose. More entertainment, shops or things like that.
Well, that was Jessica Cooper at the Milton Keynes Bowl. Clark Osborne is CEO of Gaming International, the operators of the National Bowl. Morning, Clark.
Good morning, Ian.
Clark, why are you looking to hold smaller concerts and not use the full 65,000 capacity?
Well, it's probably a little misreported in that what we are proposing is that facilities should be permanently put into the Bowl, which would financially enable promoters to use the Bowl for smaller concerts. So it's a facility issue rather than actually altering the Bowl to make the Bowl for smaller concerts as a norm.
How will that feel? Won't it feel cavernous with less than half the venue filled? How would that work?
We don't think so. I mean, and the reason for that is that the Bowl is quite unique in the UK in its design, and what it's able to do is actually to create an atmosphere from around 30,000 people upwards.
Why are the bigger acts not playing there anymore? The Bruce Springsteens and the Bon Jovis?
Well, the sort of dynamics of what happens within major acts, and we're talking about acts that can produce attendances on a one-off of around 50,000 plus, and the Bowl has a capacity for 65,000, as you know, currently. What happens is that there are a few acts, relatively few acts, in the world at any one time that can command that audience. And basically there is I suppose almost you would call it a lottery of what happens with those acts that are being promoted, that are touring, and the facilities that are available. So, for example, Wembley is a big draw in the UK, and that facility may or may not be available in that process, and it also depends on what the promoter sees, which is very, very important for the Bowl, what the promoter sees as the economics of that concert. I mean, we know the Bowl is hugely popular in the UK with promoters. I mean, it is a centrally located venue which has fantastic links to transport and great facilities. But the Bowl is expensive to promote at, and the reason for that is that all of the infrastructure has to be brought in. So the promoters are looking all the time at what their break-even is, what their profitability is in actually going to the Bowl. And what we want to do is to improve that. So,
and how can you do that? Because, I mean, the Bon Jovi and Springsteen, they're all playing or have played recently Hyde Park. The places like Hyde Park and the O2 taking business away from you?
Yeah, well, in a word, yes. I mean, the position at Hyde Park is more directly competitive to the Bowl. But what's happened in the concerts, which have been promoted in many ways by the O2, which is a covered facility, is that acts have actually run for maybe 8 events. So they may run 8 nights. Whereas at the Bowl, I mean, the most that has ever been run, it was with Robbie Williams, which was 5 nights. I mean, when he was at the pinnacle of his popularity worldwide. So there is a change there, and Hyde Park is, probably in the centre of London, the outdoor venue. So when that is available, it all goes into a pool of availability, and depending on what acts are actually being promoted, what acts are travelling, what promoters are doing. So it has to compete.
You want to put in facilities for smaller acts. What kind of acts are you talking about? Who do you want to see there?
Well, we want to see acts, and it's a changing dynamic. But we want to see acts. We want to see promoters bring acts to the Bowl, which can actually show good profitability on a 30,000 attendance. So,
what kind of acts are playing that size these days?
Well, that's interesting. I mean,
well, if you don't, Clark, if you can't think of any, is that not a concern then, that perhaps you might struggle to get them?
Well, no, not at all. Because in terms of the actual promotion of the Bowl, that is undertaken with our partners, Live Nation. I mean, they are promoters as such. They're worldwide promoters. So. In that respect, they would be the guys who are going to be able to tell you exactly what acts at any one time.
Let me put a Facebook message to you. This is from Chris. I remember seeing Green Day at the Bowl. It's fantastic. Would love to see more big acts there, but I've got a feeling the MK Dons Stadium will be taking all of those now. Does that development worry you?
No, because the stadium is a different venue. It has different capacities. It has different dynamics to it. So it is not a facility like the Bowl. So in many ways, I suppose for Milton Keynes as a whole, the MK Dons Stadium would be able to complement the facilities within Milton Keynes quite considerably.
Sports such as... Sorry, Clark, just to interrupt, because I could talk all morning about this. It's fascinating, but we are running slightly out of time. Sport, badminton, football, cycling, how would you see those using the site?
Well, as you know, the local authority are going through a process because the Bowl has moved from the ownership of the HCA to the authority. Badminton are going to locate themselves at the Bowl. That facility is there. Cycling has been there since the beginning, and there are plans to provide cycling with a new centre at the Bowl. I mean, there is land available to do that. The difficulty is in terms of trying to accommodate a training ground for MK Dons. That's the problem.
Have you got a big 65,000-seater gig booked for this year?
Not yet. We are in negotiation again through Live Nation with 3 promotions currently.
Who?
Well, I can't.
Oh, can you not? Is it top secret?
Yeah, I can't. You can never tell that. I mean, I don't. I actually, in all the years I've been involved, I don't understand why.
Right.
But they are always secret until they're announced.
American acts?
Probably.
Clark, listen, I genuinely could talk about this all day. Maybe we should meet up and have a coffee at some point.
I'd enjoy that.
I find it fascinating. Clark, thank you very much. That's my microphone I've just faded down there. That's Clark Osborne, CEO of Gaming International, the operators of the National Bowl. I hope I wasn't getting too geeky for you there, dear listener. I was enjoying a slight little musical geek fest there. Well, they're in negotiations with 3 acts. You do have to play the guessing game. What 3 acts in the world are big enough to fill the Bowl? Springsteen? Could Springsteen still do it? Probably. Bon Jovi, but Springsteen played Hyde Park last year. Bon Jovi are playing Hyde Park this year, so it's unlikely to be them. The Stones, they've just done a load of gigs at the O2. Take that. I don't know. It implied that they're probably American. I don't know. Let's have a little guessing game, shall we? You can text that in, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Who's he in negotiations with? I'm intrigued. Right. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Adam Glynn.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
And it's the M25 that's looking busiest. Anti-clockwise, we've got slow traffic between the M11 and the A10. So as you come from Essex through in toward Hertfordshire, it's looking quite slow around there. And then you've got the roadworks section, which of course has the 50-mile-an-hour restriction. Once you're through that, it gets busy again from the M1 round to junction 19 at Watford, and from 17 at Maple Cross to 16 at the M40 is looking quite slow as well. If you're approaching the M25 on the North Orbital Road, that's looking busy at the junction 21A roundabout. Things seem to have eased a little bit round London Coney. Speed sensors not flagging up any queues near to the Park Street roundabout that they were about half an hour ago. The A1 in Boreham Wood, now that's still looking slow. Stirling Corner through to Apex Corner at the A41. And on the trains, no major problems or delays. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. Right, 7:16. It's Wednesday, the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl are now looking to have more regular, smaller concerts there. The retrial of a Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues today. And in sport, Luton Town won their first match in 5 last night as they beat Lincoln 3-0 in the conference. Coming up, a Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on its back, "Please neuter this cat," in red felt tip pen, says it's shocked the community in which she lives. Well, our sensitive cat correspondent Justin Dealey is with her. She'll be on the show next. The weather, I forgot to do the weather, I do apologise. Weather today for Beds, Hearts and Bucks. Cold, damp start, bright and sunny spells through the late morning and into the afternoon. Maximum temperature is 10 degrees.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
This weekend, we bring you 3 days of live sport. It all starts on Friday night from 7 with live commentary from the conference.
And that is that, surely.
Knowing they can't climb out of the league, it's all about pride now for Luton.
These games now have been all about, certainly for us to look at players and also for players to put a case forward for them.
This time they're at home to Grimsby. Live conference football, Friday night from 7 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now listen, I'm a cat lover, right? And I've said this. I've said the cat flap is getting fitted today. 300 quid. It's because it's because we've got double glazed doors and they have to replace the glass. And the last time the guy came round, he'd measured it up wrong. So they better sort it out today. Otherwise, I will be phoning up the Jonathan Vernon Smith Consumer Hour and getting him to kick their butts. But this story did shock me and upset me when I heard this. A woman whose cat was shaved and had the words, "Please neuter this cat," written on its back in red felt tip pen, says it has shocked the community in which she lives. I would suggest it hasn't shocked one person in the community, at least. Sharon Munns from Bedford thinks her 11-year-old cat Bex may have been mistaken for another cat in the area. Well, we've put a picture of Bex up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR, after what the RSPCA is described as a senseless attack. Well, our sensitive cat correspondent, Justin Dealey, is in Bedford. Justin, you're there now with Sharon, aren't you?
I am indeed. Absolutely incredible story, this. Sharon, thank you for your time. You're live across Beds, Hearts and Bucks. This attack, just how upsetting has this been for you and your family?
It's been absolutely devastating. You know, the night my daughter brought him home, he meted her at the car and woke me up, and I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe it. We've been here 9 years. Nothing has ever happened like this before. He's such a placid cat, and I just shocked. She thought he'd been attacked at first and then said, "Mum, he's been shaven and written on." It was just absolutely devastating. It really was.
And your friends and family, what have they said to you?
They're absolutely disgusted and shocked. I've had so many messages from Facebook and through texts. Shocking story, I've had friend requests from different parts of the country as well, in the UK. Just absolutely shocked that someone could do that to an animal.
When I met Bex this morning, Bex seems like such a lovely cat, a very quiet cat. To think that somebody's had him in their home, holding him down and shaving him, I mean, just how does that make you feel?
Just unbelievable. I really just can't believe that someone would do that. I wondered why, when, you know, he's 11 years of age, he's been neutered for the last 8 years. He is a big cat.
I mean, as you mentioned there, he has been neutered, so clearly they got the wrong cat anyway.
Absolutely, and this is what I wanted to get across, the fact that he has been neutered, because I didn't want him targeted again. The stories, and it's got very big, because obviously there's a lot of animal lovers out there, and shocking that someone could do that to a cat.
The media attention on this story, has that surprised you slightly?
Oh, totally. Getting messages from people. You've got a story in the Daily Mail, the Sun. Just totally shocking.
Okay, a couple more questions for you. Question we're asking this morning is, why do you think some people, and we're talking here about some people, why do you think some people hate cats so much?
I don't know. I think maybe because sometimes cats are scratchy, scary looking, you know. But I'm a cat lover. I'm a dog lover as well. I love animals. I really have no idea why on earth someone would do that.
You just don't get it at all, do you? The RSPCA described this as a senseless attack. You want this person found. If that person is listening to this right now, and there's every chance they might be, what is your message to them?
Why would you do that? Why not, you know, if you're in the area, come and knock on the door if you've got a problem with an animal either pestering or coming into your garden or etc. Come and have a chat, you know, rather than shaving my poor Bex and writing on him. You know, maybe they've got the wrong cat. There's quite a few cats around the area. There was one just the other day on one of the sheds, and I actually thought it was Bex until he turned around. You know, I really don't know.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Justin, can I just interrupt there? Sorry, because cats don't have they don't particularly go very far from home. So I'm just wondering, without mentioning any names, if Celia had any suspicions of who it might be. It's likely it's a neighbour, isn't it?
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, you mentioned other cats in the area here. Obviously, somebody's got an issue.
Not Celia, sorry, Sharon. Celia's our next guest. Apologies, yes.
Sharon, we're talking about other cats in the area. You mentioned a few. I mean, has there been problems in this area before, without going into too much detail about names, as to who this cat may well be?
No, we've had absolutely no problems in the area about animals or anything, so I really honestly don't know.
Okay. No ideas at all. In actual fact, Iain, the RSPCA have said to us that if anybody has information about this, they can call. The number is 0300 123 8018, and they can speak to somebody in confidence. Clearly, it is a senseless attack, and Sharon's saying here, other people in the local area, they want this person found before it happens to their cat.
And have you met Bex, Justin?
I have. As I mentioned in the piece there, Iain, Bex is a lovely, lovely cat, very, very quiet, lovely-natured. I can't imagine why anybody would want to do this to Bex or any other cat, to be quite honest with you.
Justin Daly there, thank you very much indeed. I mentioned the name Celia, I was getting confused. I was getting excited because our next guest is Celia Hammond, one of the top models in the 60s. During that time, she became involved in rescuing, neutering and rehoming stray and unwanted animals, and now runs the Celia Hammond Animal Trust. Good morning, Celia.
Yes, good morning.
The RSPCA have called this a senseless attack. Why would anybody do this? What pleasure would anyone get out of doing this?
Well, to be honest, I can understand that Sharon's upset and angry. I can understand that completely. Poor Bex. But the thing is, I think probably what's happened here, whoever did this must have been having some kind of bad experience with a tomcat, obviously not Bex, who may have been perhaps an unneutered Tom, might have been attacking their cat. Maybe they've had a huge vet spill because their cat's been bitten, or perhaps this cat's been spraying and making a horrible smell around their door. And they would know that both neutering would solve both of those problems. So perhaps they've just got desperate, shaved poor Bex and written this message. So what I'm saying basically is the message is right. You know, get your animals neutered because otherwise they cause enormous problems and you know, create lots of kittens that there are no homes for. But the delivery was wrong. Obviously, it's the wrong cat. Whatever this cat has done isn't Bex. So it's the message is right. It's the wrong delivery.
This case is bad and is cruel, but you get to see a lot worse, don't you?
Well, I mean, I think it's very undignified and upsetting for Bex. But to be honest, as regards cruelty, thank goodness he wasn't hurt. If the person had intended to hurt Bex, that person could have done so much more. I think they were mistakenly choosing this way of delivering that message. I mean, as regards cruelty, I mean, this is something that we see every day. We are in East London here, so I mean, there's the cruelty statistics for us. They're going up and up and up. We've never seen so much cruelty. You know, we get people here setting dogs on cats almost every day in our clinic here. We get animals that are being attacked by other dogs, and a lot of these are deliberate. We get several cats shot every week with pellets.
Shot with pellets?
Yes, this is East London. They've all got guns and knives. Yeah, you know, these are what I call cruelty cases. So thank goodness Bex hasn't suffered. Thank goodness for that. And his fur will grow and he'll be fine. The poor Sharon's had a nasty experience. But I mean, as regards cruelty, this is something that's increasing day by day. I mean, all animal charities are saying the same thing. We had a cat put down a rubbish chute, a block of flats last week. You know, cat in a box with dishes, bowls, a litter tray, all just went down the rubbish chute. I mean, these are cruelty cases in my book.
How can people do that? I just can't get. Listen, I'm a cat person. And I don't. Even if I want, I can't understand how someone could do that.
Well, we can't understand it. I mean, the things that happen here every time we look at each other and say, I can't believe this. How could somebody do that? I mean, all they've got to do if they're going to do something terrible is, you know, ring up and say, look, my husband's going to throw my cat out of a 10th floor window, say, because it's eaten the chop or something off the table. They've only got to ring up and, you know, one will go out and deal with it. But these are people that will throw an animal out the window, or they'll just, we get boxes. We've had 4 boxes of big kittens abandoned last week, just left in boxes and bags down alleyways and things, not intended to be found, quite obviously.
Oh no, don't, because I'll say I'll come and get them. Don't start telling me about kittens that have been abandoned. I can't. My cat will go bonkers. Celia, very quickly.
It's really bad.
Well, it is awful. Very quickly, Celia, how did you make the transition from top fashion model in the 60s to running your own animal trust?
Well, I mean, it started in a small way, and some animal rescue takes over your life. Anybody out there that does animal rescue will understand that. You start, and you cannot stop. Well, so it just grows and grows and takes over your life.
Well, listen, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. It sounds like you're doing a cracking job there. That's Celia Hammond, who runs the Celia Hammond Animal Trust. Don't start talking about kittens that are abandoned. No, because I would go, I'll have them. I'll have them all. I don't want kittens. We might be getting chickens. We've got an old cat. My little boy has started playing this game now, and he knows that I know he's doing it. But he's doing, well, Dada, I think that Velvet would really like it if a kitten came to live with us. I don't think she would. No, she would like it because then she could be friends with it and I could stroke it. Oh, right, I see. Yeah, I tell you now, that ain't gonna happen, sunshine. It ain't gonna happen. 08459 455 555. You can see a picture of Bex on facebook.com/BBC3CR. Some of your comments. Sarah says, my God, that's terrible. I'd be devastated. Another Sarah says, people are sick. And Jane says, I hope they find out who did this. Cats are beautiful, as are all animals. If people don't like them, fine. But cats have a right to live in peace. Well, we had the story, didn't we, maybe a couple of months ago, about that gentleman that put spikes up on his fence. There's a lot of cat hatred out there. Like we say, if you can help give any information on what may have happened to Bex, you can call the RSPCA in confidence on 0300 123 8018. Travel news now, Adam Glynn.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Road's looking, well, pretty decent at the minute. We've got some works in Horton, which means Horton Road is closed near to the barn. It's closed on Bend just around there. The Amptill Road in Bedford has temporary traffic lights around the junction with Race Meadows Way. M25 this morning, traffic anti-clockwise. Starts in Essex around the M11, continues through to the roadworks stretch, which goes from junction 25 to 23. Anti-clockwise again from the M1 to junction 19 at Watford is busy, and you'll find it heavy from Maple Cross to the M40 as well. In toward London, Boreham Wood, it's still building on the A1, looking slow mainly between Stirling Corner and the A41 at Apex Corner on the cameras around there. On the trains, we've got another cancellation. It's from Milton Keynes. The 746 down to London Euston has been cancelled, would you believe, because a member of the train crew is unavailable. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. 7:30, time for the news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The operators of the National Bowl at Milton Keynes have told BBC Three Counties they're now looking to have more regular, smaller concerts at the venue. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues today. Meanwhile, a teenager's been banned from watching football for 5 years after he ran onto a pitch and attacked Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. And David Cameron will lead tributes to Lady Thatcher during a special session of Parliament to be held this afternoon in her honour. That's the news. Now let's move on to the morning sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting with MK Dons, they've moved to within 4 points of League One playoffs after their win over Swindon last night. The Dons won 2-0 at Stadium MK with Matthias Doumbé and Ryan Lowe scoring. Manager Carl Robinson felt his side deserved the win.
To be fair, Swindon's one of the best teams to come here this year. The way they passed it, the way they moved it, they were a constant threat. But I don't think they created a chance of note. I thought we created 2 or 3 first half and 2 or 3 second half against a good side, so it was a good evening for us.
Taking a look at League Two then, and Wycombe Wanderers lost 2-0 to Burton Albion. The Chairboys conceded 2 goals after the break. Player-manager Gareth Ainsworth is already looking to the next game.
I want to go against Saturday now and make sure this season we don't want it to peter out. There's no way that we're not fighting anymore. We want to win. I still want to finish top half. I think top half would be an amazing achievement after where we were, and I'll be doing all I can to make sure that happens.
Luton Town won their first match in 5 as they beat Lincoln 3-0 in the conference. Manager John Still was pleased to claim all 3 points.
Yeah, performance was good. Obviously winning's always nice, but the performance was good. It was solid, it was strong. Played some good football. We moved the ball well. Obviously a massive difference from Saturday.
Elsewhere, locally in Conference South, Boreham Wood's playoff chances were dented as they lost 2-1 at home to Havant and Waterlooville. Bishop Stortford drew 1-1 at Halifax in Conference North, and in the Southern Premier, Bedford lost 4-0 at Gosport. Finally, let's have a look at Champions League, and Borussia Dortmund scored 2 injury-time goals to scratch a dramatic 3-2 victory over Malaga. They've secured a place in the semi-finals because of that, and Real Madrid survived a second-half onslaught from Galatasaray to reach the last 4 for a record 24th time. BBC Three Counties Radio, more from me at 8.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 7:33, Wednesday the 10th of April. Some of the things coming up between now and 8 o'clock include there's a big increase in the number of women having kids beyond the age of 40. At what age do you think you're too old to have children? 08459 455 555. Do you remember Matt Loddy? No? Well, he was the fella that's running 30 marathons in 30 days to raise money for charity. There must be better ways of doing it than that. Well, just to wind him up, for training purposes, we made him run 18 miles from Kings Langley to Luton just to do an interview with me. Well, it's day 19 of his challenge, and I'll be catching up with him in about 15 minutes' time to see how he's getting on. 08459 455 555. When is it too old to have a baby? A study has found that the number of women choosing to have children after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300% since 1992. Lots of celebrities, male and female, are being older parents. Elton John, Michael Douglas, Sarah Jessica Parker, and some female ones as well have all had their children in their 40s, 50s and beyond. But does that make it right? Our reporter Justin Dealey has been asking you, how old is too old to have a baby?
Rachel, you're 29.
Yeah.
How many children have you got?
I have 3 children.
And when was your first? How old were you?
I was 21 when I had my first child.
So when do you think a lady is too old to have a baby?
I'd say about 45, maybe even 40, because you need to do things with your children. I mean, you need to be fit enough, you need to be active enough to do things.
Let me ask you this finally. If you knew somebody in their mid-50s and they said to you, Sarah, I'm thinking about having another child, what would you say to them?
I think they're mad. I think they're crazy, because I think there was a time to do that.
And would you actually say that to them?
In your 20s and your 30s? Yeah, I would. I'm quite an honest person, so yeah, I would.
OK, madam, who's here today then?
Bonnie, who's 10 months, and Isabel, 4.
When do you think you are too old to have a child?
about 40.
Can you tell us why?
I think, young mums are more agile to get around and things like that. And I'm a young mum and I feel it's better for me to have children younger. And I think maybe when you hit 40, it might be a bit late.
Sarah, you're 39.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how many children have you got?
I've got 4 children. One more on the way, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
busy girl.
Very busy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when do you think you're too old to have a child?
I don't think you're never too old to have a child. I think as long as you feel fit and healthy, then fair play, you should do it.
Let's just say you can have a baby at the age of 60. Would you want to do it?
I don't know about 60 because you've got to think about school runs and stuff. So I don't know about 60, but I think 40 is still all right. Yeah.
Well, that was Justin Dealey speaking to people on the street. Dr. Mike Ingram is a practising GP from Radlett in Hertfordshire. Earlier on this show, he told us about the pros and cons of having children at an older age.
Every few years, the advances in care of pregnant women go on, and the care that pregnant women get technically and scientifically is so much better that pregnancy gets safer and safer. So that's the positive news. But as you get older, there are greater problems in getting pregnant, and that's the problem. There's a few things to think about. One is physical age. I mean, we all feel our age as the
Oh man, I'm feeling it this morning, Doctor. I'm really feeling it today.
Well, I bet you do. And then, if you think how you were 5 years ago and how you are now, and then put on the added burden of pregnancy, not just the physical aspect of carrying a baby around, the draining energy that people sometimes feel when they're pregnant, but just the physical aspects of coping with labour. Our muscles weaken, we know that, so labour can be more complicated.
Well, I'm joined now by Lisa Pearson, a 43-year-old mum from St Albans. She writes the Mummy Whisperer blog. Morning, Lisa.
Hello, Ian.
Lisa, how old were you when you had your kids?
I was 36 with my son and then 40 with my daughter, and that was a lot tougher.
In what way? How was it tougher?
Well, the body, it's really tired. It's a really big difference, 40.
Was it, you're talking about the whole pregnancy, the labour, everything?
Oh, no, actually the labour was easier, but that's because I was at home and that was much easier.
Yes.
But yes, afterwards, having a little baby, having a toddler, being old, being tired. And I work really hard on trying to be fit and healthy. I really do, because my parents were older and they weren't healthy. And I'm very passionate about this. I really am. I understand people having children older, but you have to... If you're going to do it, you really have to then work on your health. It's selfish otherwise.
Can I ask, how old were your parents when they had you?
My mum was 43, so that would probably make my dad about 46.
Right.
I think.
And did you, as you were growing up, did you notice that they were perhaps older than your friends' parents?
Massively, because they didn't introduce me to people with children, because at that time there weren't lots of people who had children at their age. So I didn't really meet children until I went to school. But also, I was a young carer. My parents were also quite ill, and I was caring for them from about 5 years onwards. And that's not ideal. And although they were sporty, they went into fitness, which is a very different thing, to be fit and healthy. And so they got iller and iller. And so you're taking your O levels, and you're also nursing your parents.
Do you not worry about that for your kids? Because none of us know what's around the corner for us health-wise. Do you not worry that the same thing? And I know you're making an effort to stay fit, but the same thing could happen to you and affect your children.
I do, and ironically, I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition, and I am very aware of it. But I do my best. I'm always moving. It's about moving and staying flexible in your core fitness. And my nutrition is good. I'm trying my best. I'm much healthier than my parents were at this age, and I plan to stalk them as when they have grandchildren and be there playing with their grandchildren.
Good for you.
Whereas my parents aren't.
Were you worried when you were having your second child at 43? Were you worried about the possible health risks for the child?
I was more shocked because at 19 I was told I couldn't have children.
Oh.
So to fall pregnant at 36 and then they said, but you won't have any more. To fall pregnant again at 40 was a bit, oh, okay.
But did it concern you? Did you think, oh, blimey, this, because the risks do increase, and the risks are smaller than they were maybe 10 years ago, but the health risks do increase for the child the older you get, don't they?
Now, I think yes, but I had brilliant care. I really did. I mean, and Hertfordshire, of course, is really used to older parents. So they were really, really good with me. It was more that I was worried about seeing my grandchildren. That was the thing that I really worried about. You know, neither of my parents have met my children, and it's hard. And they notice it. They know. I've actually met a little old lady who I found in Tesco's who comes and looks after my children sometimes when I'm working at home. So I'm literally paying for a grandmother because children need that.
Yeah.
They really do. It's really important.
Sorry, you met her in Tesco's?
Yes.
Well, you just bumped into an old woman and said, "Oh, look, we need a grandma. Are you free? Can you help out?"
Well, I actually put a little sign up saying I wanted the mother's help or whatever, but that's where she came from. She came from Tesco. She's fabulous. She's 75.
Wonderful. Well, I've got my own, of course, adopted nanny Iain for this show, so I can understand exactly what you're saying. It's slightly different, isn't it, for dads? It's kind of more socially acceptable for older dads. But it does worry me when you hear about people like Des O'Connor having a kid at 72. That's not fair on the child, is it?
No, it's not. My dad died when I was 20. I never had an adult relationship with him. And I don't want to make anybody feel guilty if they happen to be ill or whatever. Just make sure that you find someone who's going to look after your child and be like a guardian for them. You know, but really, no, it would have been nice to have had parents. Because parents are the only people who can listen to all your moans constantly, who can be there for you whatever you do, and who care about the minutiae of your life, you know?
You're in touch with a number of mums via your blog, The Mummy Whisperer. What are they saying about older parents?
I was really surprised. They were definitely talking about 40 being the age that you should start to worry about it.
Right.
I thought they would say more like late 40s. But no, most of them, they did say, you know, it depends on your health. But, and they did say they appreciated the difficulties and the mums are having them later. But they were saying that 40, there is a real difference with your body at 40. And people who don't have children won't know that because it is much tougher.
Lisa, can I ask you a bit of parenting advice just to go off on a slight tangent? You said you've got a boy, haven't you?
Yes, 7.
I'm going to use medical language here. Was he, when he was younger, was he obsessed with his willy? Because I've got two. I've got two boys, 3 and 1, and they're just obsessed with it. And now that the youngest one is pulling down his nappy to get it out, the oldest one. Oh, can I say this? Yes, I will. For goodness sakes, the oldest one was trying to do a puppet show with his. Is there? I know. You sort of. The thing is, I can't tell him off because I don't want him to be in therapy in 30 years' time. So I kind of go, "Oh yeah, that's very nice." Anyway, should we carry on reading this book? Was your boy like that at all?
Yes, yeah. And what I would say is you're exactly right. The most important thing is to not make them feel guilty, not make them feel any kind of shame or anything like that. But when they get a bit older and they understand the difference between private and public...
Oh, yeah, I've tried that. yeah.
It depends on the age. As they get older, you just explain, you know, there's a difference between private and public.
We've stopped the oldest doing it in public now, or when we have guests around. So I guess that's some development. So you wouldn't recommend, I don't know, putting mustard or something on it?
No.
No, I wouldn't do that. OK. Lisa, what's the link for your website so people can go and have a look?
It's mummywhispererblog.com.
Excellent stuff, Lisa. Thank you very much indeed. Lisa Pearson, a mum from St Albans, 43-year-old mum. Well, what do you reckon? I'm sorry to make it so medical at this time in the morning, but this problem really is... He was doing a puppet show with it. I know. What do... I couldn't laugh. I found it hilarious. He was doing the voices and everything. Anyway, so let's pull back from that a little bit. What do you think? When is too old to be a parent? 08459 455 555. Elizabeth has emailed in. There's another side to being an older mum or dad. It's okay. We kind of mentioned this a little bit. It's okay as long as life goes to plan. However, if your child becomes ill or disabled, this could involve lifting, washing, etc. It's one thing doing it at the age of 50, but imagine doing this at 60. Wealthy celebrities can afford to fund care. Well, this is the thing. The celebrities do... They say, yeah, well, we're older parents and we're getting on with it. You know they've got at least a nanny at home, possibly a couple. And Melissa in Hertford says, my parents were 40 and 43 when they had me. I have young, spirited parents, which was great, and they could afford to take me on some amazing holidays. When I was in senior school, though, I used to panic that they'd die before I'd reached 20. I therefore wouldn't have kids past your 40s. 08459 455 555. Coming up to 7:45, here's Adam Glynn with The Travel.
Beds, hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Ian. Looking pretty good still. Mainly across the Three Counties, roads are quite quiet. Certainly routes to and from London are looking okay. We've got no M40 delays this morning or M1 delays. On the M40 though, I am looking at the exit slip road onto the M25, and that's looking a little bit slow, but of course we have got traffic building on the M25 in quite a few places. First off, into the roadworks coming from Essex, so from the M11 round to the A10 and then through the works which run from junction 25 to 23 at the A1M. It's looking quite slow. Then further round from the M1 to Watford, junction 21 to 19, and from Maple Cross to the M40, so junction 17 to 16. Slow again in London Coney. It was easing off earlier, now it looks busy again on the A414 at the London Coney roundabout. And if you're heading into London on the A1, now that's the one that is busy. We've got queues in Boreham Wood between the Holiday Inn junction and the Broadway at Mill Hill. Trains, meanwhile, are looking good. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thanks very much. Right, 7:46, Wednesday the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl say they want to make it easier for promoters to hold more regular, smaller concerts at the venue. The retrial of a Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues today. And in sport, MK Dons have moved to within 4 points of the League One playoffs after their win over Swindon last night. Coming up, we'll catch up with Matt Loddy. He's the gentleman who's running 30 marathons in 30 days to raise money for charity. Well, today is day 19 of his challenge, and we'll speak to him before 8 o'clock. But before that, let's get the weather. Here's Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. A bit of a chilly start for some. Just 1 degree at Luton Airport at the moment. And while most of the spots are dry across all three counties, there's 1 or 2 light showers cropping up in parts of Buckinghamshire at the moment, just heading up towards Bedfordshire. So 1 or 2 light showers dotted around, but otherwise dry. Now, as we go through the day, we will see some brightness or some sunshine breaking through, and that will help to lift the temperature to about 10 degrees at the top end today, with light winds from a southerly direction for the most part. And then as we go through this evening, we will start to see some rain arriving. Now that's going to push on through, heading north as we go through the night, and be quite persistent, and perhaps in places a bit on the heavy side too. The wind will be increasing, but the temperature will hold at between 5 and 7 degrees Celsius. Now most of the heavier rain should have fizzled out by the early hours of the morning, but there will be a bit of a damp start tomorrow. A little bit drier in the afternoon, some sunshine breaking through, but equally we could see 1 or 2 showers trailing through that could be a bit on the heavy side. Watch out for those. It's a blustery day, so they won't stick around for very long, and temperatures will get to 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. Sunshine and showers for Friday as well, ahead of the weekend, which looks like it will be largely dry for us. Most of the rain further west across the country. It will be blustery, but it could start to feel very mild. Temperatures may hit 16 or 17 degrees Celsius. That's your weather for now.
When do you tease?
Every weekday from 3, Roberto Perrone with the best local news stories.
I get to meet a lot of really interesting people with the most amazing stories.
We feel as if we haven't been taken notice of.
Yesterday we heard that the bank had gone, but today it's still there.
The cat got delivered up in Kabul. You should be back in the UK in 2 months.
With the best local talking points.
Do some of the bakers have flapjack fights?
No, of course not, Roberto. Well, not in our shops.
Roberto Perrone, weekdays from 3.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Bex, a cat in Bedford, was 11-year-old cat in Bedford, has had its back shaved, and written in red pen was the message, "Please neuter this cat." You can see a picture of Bex, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Liz is in St Albans. Liz, what do you think of this attack?
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Liz.
I read about this story in the Mail yesterday. Listening to it again this morning. We had the same thing happen in our road. We live in St Albans on a rather unpleasant council estate, it has to be said. But we had 3 separate cats last year, and they all came home in the morning shaved. This wasn't ours, it was neighbours of ours. But the cats turned up, badly shaven, and one of them was actually cut quite badly. So I was wondering what on earth's going on? What's happening out there?
So when you say shaved, how their whole bodies, just bits of it?
No, patches, exactly the same as the photograph of Bex. Quite a large sort of area on the back of the cat or the side, with all the fur shaven off and shaven quite close and bleeding.
Had they written any messages on in red pen?
No cryptic messages, no, it has to be said, but just shaving, but nobody ever found out who was doing it.
Have you got any suspicions who it was? Because cats, as I said before, they don't have a very wide roaming area. They stay closer to home than we think, so it would be someone nearby.
There were rumours,
Right.
About who it might be, but no, we never found out. And somebody did call the RSPCA, but nothing happened. But it's just strange to hear it again. It must be a new craze, I think, shaving cats, possibly.
Liz, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Richard's from Milton Keynes. Richard, what's your take on this?
Well, a little sad, I think, really and truly. I think it's probably something to do with a reflection upon society.
Oh. In what way?
Well, there's always been rather a thing that psychiatrists often tend to feel that violence towards animals generally is something that's a bit of a precursor to people who have tendency to violences in other way, but particularly to cats. Cats tend to rub controlling type people rather up the wrong way because of their nature.
Because they're so free-spirited and uncontrollable.
Well, that's very much the way, the free spirit. And the controlling person doesn't like a free spirit. He likes people that are, and I'm just thinking there are certain parallels to sort of, particularly, I hate to be other sexist in this, but when there's men that show violence towards women, often in their past have shown violence or aggression towards, dogs and cats.
No, it's true. My producer is shaking her head. It's true. You do hear these. It's psychopaths, isn't it, Richard? Quite often, let's calm down a little bit. But quite often, that's how serial killers start, isn't it? By torturing animals.
Oh, they've often, when you get someone that gets to the psychopath stage, when they look in their past, they often tend to find they've shown this violent tendency towards animals earlier on. So, as I say, it's. I'm not an expert psychologist, but I think there are some worrying aspects to this.
Can I just say, people of Bedford, please, I'm not suggesting for 1 second there is a serial killer lurking in your midst, okay? We're just drawing an interesting comparison. Richard, thank you. Have you got cats, Richard?
I've had dogs early on in my life, and I've migrated now, as I've got rather little older now. I have a couple of rescued cats from the RSPCA, which I find brilliant company. They don't do as they're told. They go their own way.
Great,
but
isn't it?
They're kindly companions.
And they're much better than dogs, aren't they, Richard? Welcome over from the dark side. It's good to have you as one of us, one of the sensible pet owners. Yes, but I bet people in Bedford go, oh my God, BBC Three Counties Radio said there was a psychopathic serial killer here. No, I'm not saying that at all, but it is an interesting, if you read these psychology studies of these naughty murderers, they do quite often start out torturing cats. So, 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Now, this was a few weeks ago. Marathon runner Matthew Loddy ran. I feel bad, but we asked him and he did it. It wasn't bullying. He ran 18 miles just to be interviewed by me. It took just over 2 hours from his home in Kings Langley to our studios in Luton. It didn't go completely smoothly. Justin Dealey lost him at one point. I know. How can you lose a man? Justin's in a car and he loses a runner. But here's the moment that Justin caught him en route.
Well, Matt, we're now in Apsley. Gone about 4 kilometres. How do you feel?
Yeah, fine, not too bad. Stiffness went after a couple, so bedding in quite nicely.
And you spoke to us earlier on saying 2.5 hours. Are you still confident it's going to take 2.5 hours to get from Kings Langley to Luton?
Yeah, I'm not going to be far off.
All right, I'll let you crack on. Thank you.
Thanks.
He let him crack on, then he lost him, you muppet Dealey. Well, there was a method to our madness. It wasn't completely cruel. Matt was preparing for his latest challenge, 30 marathons in 30 days. He started in Edinburgh on the 23rd of March. Today he's back in the Three Counties, running from Letchworth to Hemel Hempstead. He's on the line now. Morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Matt, it's you again, you sound way too calm and relaxed considering you're on marathon number 19.
Yeah, you can't see me. I'm hobbling about a bit at the moment.
How's it been going?
It's been going good. I've tore my thigh about 4 days ago, so I've got a bit of an injury there. As long as I don't go too fast, it's okay.
Well, how do you treat that? Is it a bath full of ice cubes?
Yes, it is, unfortunately. And it's,
good, I'm laughing. Serves you right.
It's not the nicest thing in the world, but it does the trick. So it just keeps it under control, stops the swelling, and allows me to carry on.
What kind of times have you been doing, Matt?
I've been ranging. I've actually been reasonably quick. I've been going from 3 hours 13 minutes.
Wow.
Most of my runs are 3 hours 20 to 3:25, and I've done a couple of when I ran through the Peak District. I did one in 3:42.
They're decent times. It's not as if you're doing 5-6 hours. You know, you're actually running these marathons.
Yes, I've got a strange philosophy that if you get it over and done with quickly, the pain's less.
Which has been the toughest? You've run so far in Edinburgh, Liverpool, Leeds, Nottingham. Which has been the toughest place so far?
There's been lots of different tough areas. First of all, it was freezing cold. There was -8 in Scotland with the freezing cold easterly winds. We came out of Glasgow and I ran up basically a dual carriageway for about 11 miles into a freezing cold headwind with lorries firing past. So that was very, very tough. The toughest marathon was from Manchester to Sheffield across the Pennines. Going up, I ran up 2 mountains basically. That was extremely tough. And they've all been different. The traffic is a challenge all the time.
Yeah. Is your wife coming along for all of these to kind of help you out?
She's been along actually with the weekends. We've been. She's been meeting up for the weekend.
Oh, what a part-timer she is! I've gone right off her.
Yes, I'm with my dad, who's 85. He's my lead driver.
Oh, well done, Dad. Just remind us of the charity that you're running in aid of and how people can contribute towards this.
I'm running for Framework Foundation, raising money for Teenage Cancer Trust. The whole point of this, I'm running to and from every Teenage Cancer Trust unit across Scotland, England and Wales. And it is life-changing when you go and see these places. And I've said it before, any time I want, I can stop this challenge. I can stop hurting myself. I can stop it. These people, these young adults, haven't got a chance. They don't do that. They haven't got the option to stop their fight. And that's what is inspiring me as I'm going and meeting these fantastic people at Teenage Cancer Trust, the nurses from the NHS that work with Teenage Cancer Trust, and of course the patients.
I'm hoping they're giving you a warm welcome when you arrive there after 3.5 hours of running.
Oh, fantastic! They've been absolutely brilliant. Yeah, a nice cup of coffee and a granola bar has been at most of them, which is good.
Matt, if people want to give you a few quid today, how can they do it?
They can either text to donate just £3 to, if they text RUN30 to 70300.
So that's RUN30, the run and then the number 30.
Run number 30 to 70300, or go on to www.frameworkfoundation.co.uk, and there's various ways of sponsorships, various ways of we've still got, I think, 3 shirts to sponsor for the rest of the run. I think the rest have now gone, so there is still a chance to get your name on the shirt. So there's lots of ways to get involved.
And just describe what you're wearing today. You're running from Letchworth to Hemel Hempstead. In case people see you, they might want to cheer you on or give you a beep of the horn. What are you going to be wearing?
I've got a bright blue pair of trainers on. I've got a black pair of Lycra skin tight compression tights with a pair of shorts over the top, and a black shirt with logos on it, and a red top underneath. So I've got red arms, black body and black legs.
Well, Matt, hopefully you'll get lots of people cheering you on and tooting their horns. Just keep an eye out for him. Don't drive too close to him, for goodness sakes. There's Matt Loddy running from Letchworth to Hemel Hempstead today. If you see him, give him a little toot of the horn. Cheer him on. I mean, there must be easier ways to raise money, but well done him for doing it. And the Teenage Cancer Trust is a cracking charity. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Go there. Have a look at Bex, the cat that was shaved. Oh, we've had reports of more incidents of this happening. Have you seen it happen? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Right, 7:58. Travel news now. Adam Glynn.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting with a look at the trains, which by and large are doing fine. We've got one cancellation, and it's the same train that unfortunately was cancelled through Milton Keynes. It was due to be the 8:28 from Watford Junction down to Euston. That, of course, not running, but the next Euston service runs either a few minutes before that or a few minutes after. Looking at the roads, and usual spots are slow. The M25 mainly anti-clockwise as you go into the roadworks at Junction 25 Enfield. Then once you're through them, Newham, it's slow from the M1 to Watford and from Maple Cross to the M40. Though looking at the M40 and the M1 on the cameras, right now there are no delays, whether you're going northbound or southbound. On the A6 in Bedford, no problems at all reported. CCTV control in the area, can't see much going on around there. It's all looking clear. And in Hemel, no delays either. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. More on this shaved cat. More on the Milton Keynes Bowl. And when is it too old to be a parent? 08459 455 555. Talk more after the news with Serena.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines line up for smaller concerts at MK's National Bowl, retrial of same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive, and cat cruelty in Bedford.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl say they want to make it easier for promoters to hold more regular, smaller concerts at the venue. They're looking to attract crowds of up to 30,000 people. It currently holds 65,000 but only has one big music act a year. Well, Clark Osborne is CEO of Gaming International, the operators there.
It is a centrally located venue which has fantastic links to transport and great facilities. But the bowl is expensive to promote at, and the reason for that is that all of the infrastructure has to be brought in. So the promoters are looking all the time at what their break-even is, what their profitability is in actually going to the bowl.
Stay listening, as we'll be hearing from Chris Salmon, a music journalist from Hitchin. He'll be talking to Iain Lee here on BBC Three Counties Radio straight after this bulletin. Now, the retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues today. Tommy Connors and 3 of his sons from the Greenacres caravan site near Leighton Buzzard deny the charges, which happened between April 2010 and September 2011. The men were recruited either off the streets or from centres like homeless and soup kitchens. A teenager's been banned from watching football for 5 years after he ran onto a pitch and then attacked Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. 17-year-old Joshua Sanders jumped on Jordan Archer back in February as he prepared to take a goal kick during a game with Gillingham. As we've been hearing, a Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on his back, "Please new to this cat," in red pen, says it shocked the community.
It's been absolutely devastating. The night my daughter brought him home, he meted her at the car and I just didn't know what to do. We've been here 9 years. Nothing has ever happened like this before.
Sharon Munn's there. She thinks her 11-year-old cat Bex may have been mistaken for another one in the area. A study's found the number of women choosing to have children after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300%. That's since 1992. Celebrities like Elton John and Michael Douglas have all had children in their 40s and beyond. But does it make it right? Dr Mike Ingham is a practising GP from Radlett.
The older you get, the more likely you are to develop some other disease, high blood pressure, inflammatory bowel disease, or all of these things complicate pregnancy, increase the amount of risk there is in pregnancy, and make the outcomes of pregnancy not as good. And we're forgetting for the fact that you also got to add on what you're going to be like when your kids are running around 10, 11, 12, want your time, and you're going to be that much older.
Football now, MK Dons have moved within 4 points of the League One playoffs. That's after their win over Swindon last night. Weather then is going to be quite cold, but then bright and sunny come the afternoon. Double figures as well, temperatures 10 degrees Celsius. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio first. Good news.
Is there any chance of a cuppa?
Well, I'm not a tea lady.
No,
My
no.
actual, the title, isn't it?
Well, what is
Apart from being super newsreader.
Yeah, OK. Is that a yes, then?
What planet are you on?
Oh, dear. I'm still not sure. Was that a yes? Good morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 3 minutes past 8, Wednesday, the 10th of April. I'm here every morning, 6 till 9. Oh, and exciting news. I'll mention it. It's not happening for a while. Podcasts. That's all I'm going to say. It's not happening for a while, so just calm down, but podcasts. OK. I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to get you too excited. I don't want to peak too early. Lots coming up between now and 9 o'clock, including a lot of big stars have performed at the National Bowl in Milton Keynes. Bruce Springsteen, Queen, David Bowie, the London Boys. But that was years ago. Now it's better known for car boot sales and garden shows. Well, the venue operator has exclusively told this programme they're installing facilities to attract smaller acts. Who do you remember seeing at the Bowl? And imagine your cat comes home only to find it's had some of its fur shaved off and the words, "Please neuter your cat," written in red pen. Well, that is exactly what happened to a Bedford woman's cat. Her cat had been neutered. Why do you think people hate cats so much? If you want to see a picture of Bex the cat, facebook.com/BBC3CR. And at what age are you too old to have children? There's been a big increase in the number of women having kids beyond the age of 40. I'll be speaking to a woman who had her first child at 47 to find out what she thinks. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The National Bowl in Milton Keynes, one of the biggest open-air concert venues in the country, has been home to some huge acts over the years. David Bowie and Queen there. Now, BBC Three Counties Radio has exclusively been told that the operators are looking to have more regular, smaller concerts. The venue currently holds up to 65,000 people, but only attracts one big music act a year. Clark Osborne is CEO of Gaming International, the operators of the National Bowl. He spoke to me earlier about the changes.
What we are proposing is that facilities should be permanently put into the Bowl, which would financially enable promoters to use the Bowl for smaller concerts. It's a facility issue rather than actually altering the Bowl to make the Bowl for smaller concerts as a norm.
Well, I'm joined now by Stephen Gordon-Wilson, Chief Exec of Destination MK, the Tourism Association for Milton Keynes, and also Chris Salmon, who's a music journalist from Hitchin. Good morning, Chris and Stephen.
Morning, Ian.
Hello. Chris, what do you think about the Bowl holding smaller concerts?
It's interesting. Did he say anything about the capacity it would be?
It would be about 30,000.
Still pretty big, isn't it? I mean, that's not a small act. I think they're still... Then they're going to be competing directly with the O2 Arena, and I think they're going to struggle with that a bit.
Do you think so? Because, I mean, it does seem nowadays that concerts have changed and that instead of doing a tour of UK venues that can hold 15, 20,000, they'll just play 4, 5, 6 nights at the O2, won't they?
Yeah, which is a venue that's just enormously successful. I think it's the most attended venue in the world now, and it's got great facilities, it's easy to get to, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, people can have a lovely meal in many different restaurants before they go in, and it's very civilised, and MK Bowl just isn't really that.
Do you think the Bowl has perhaps had its day then?
I think it's one of those venues. I was asking on Twitter yesterday if people had been there and if anyone feels kind of affection for it. And lots of people have been to one gig there. You know, fellow had been to see Bowie there, fellow had been to see Queen there, but very few had been more than once. And I think it's one of those places. I went to see Eminem there. I think it was 2003, and it was hard to get there. It was really hard to park. It was difficult to get away. I mean, I think the venue itself, the sight lines are great, and it's all standing, which again is you know, if you play Wembley Stadium, lots of people sit down, and lots of people like to sit down at concerts. And for Swedish House Mafia last year, all standing was perfect because everybody wanted to dance. But a lot of bands that are big enough to play that kind of size, a fair percentage of the crowd are going to want to sit down.
Yes, they are going to want to sit down because a lot of bands that play venues that size have got lots of power ballads. So that's when you're meant to sit down, isn't it? It's a slow one. True. We can have a rest. So you mentioned the parking, the lack. It's difficult to park and get in and out. What other things do you think are wrong with it?
I think its proximity to London hurts it, because in London you've got. Well, the Olympic Park this year has started doing gigs. Wembley Stadium, Emirates does gigs, Twickenham does gigs. You know, there's an awful lot of big places it's competing with, which have just got infrastructure already there. Whereas, as far as I can tell, Milton Keynes Bowl doesn't have dressing rooms there permanently, doesn't have all that kind of thing ready-made there for you. You've got to put it all in when you come, and I think that makes it more expensive to use.
Stephen, one local resident has described the Bowl as a white elephant. Is that right?
No, I don't think that's fair at all.
I think what the journalist there was saying is right to a degree. I think, that it does need some work. The infrastructure actually at the venue isn't fantastic at the moment, and I think Clark was the first to admit that when he spoke to him earlier. But if he is going to invest some money there in making it easier for smaller gigs to come along, then I don't think there's any reason it can't be on the circuit with the O2. I'm not sure it competes as such. I think it's perhaps it's the first venue after London, or it's the first venue or the last venue before London, on a tour. I think it goes quite nicely hand in hand with the bigger venues.
What would you like to see the bowl used for, Stephen?
There are a lot of proposals on the table at the moment. It would be great to have it back as a concert venue. There's been some fantastic things there, as you were saying. Robbie Williams, Swedish House Mafia recently. I don't think the Monkeys ever made it there, Iain, which is a shame.
No, they didn't, Stephen, unfortunately. I think that's its problem.
Maybe that's its downfall,
Yes.
But it would be great to have it back there as a concert venue. This idea of having smaller, more regular concerts is brilliant. I mean, for Milton Keynes, whenever there's a concert there, it does great things for the local economy. The hotels are full, the restaurants are full. From an MK point of view, the bowl's a jewel in our crown, really.
You're right, it has hosted some amazing artists and some amazing concerts. But Clark was saying earlier on that part of the problem is a lot of them are choosing to play Hyde Park now and places like that. Do you think that as a 65,000-seater venue, Stephen, that it has had its day? That just the way acts tour and travel, they've changed, haven't they?
They have, but no, I don't think it has had its day, as long as it keeps up to date, and the infrastructure and the updates are done properly. As I was saying, you see in the back of the Sunday papers, don't you, that all of these guys are on tour and they go, as you say, to Hyde Park and they do their big show at the O2, but they visit the other slightly smaller venues as they go. And perhaps we should be the venue. They do the O2, then Hyde Park, then Milton Keynes Bowl. Why not?
How do you sell Milton Keynes as an attractive place to perform?
I think it's all part of the bigger picture of Milton Keynes, which is how we sell it for anything, really. Milton Keynes is known for a lot of things. I don't think it's all just cows and roundabouts. We've got the best regional theatre outside of London. There's indoor snow. The MK Dons had a fantastic win last night. I think it's all about the Milton Keynes bigger picture, and I think in terms of getting here, we'd almost try and sell it, come and see Swedish House Mafia, but also why not stay for the weekend and do other stuff while you're here, which is, I think that's where it can compete with the O2. We were talking about Twickenham and all the other stuff there is to do in London, but outside of the bowl, you only need to get in a cab or in your car for 2 minutes and you're at Escape or you're at the Hub, and you've got all the restaurants and facilities there.
Chris, there aren't that many acts that could fill a 65,000-seater these days, are there?
No, not at all. And even there's not that many that fill 30,000, to be honest. They're still pretty big, and there's not that many bands coming through. I think the ones that are getting to kind of 12,000 level will be pretty happy. There's certainly not many getting 30,000. Is still quite a few acts you're looking at.
And also, so outdoor venues, it's always a risky punt, isn't it? Even in the summer, Chris. I've been to a few outdoor gigs, and I went to see Brian Wilson in where was he playing? He was playing somewhere in London, and it was outdoor. Wonderful summer's night. I also went to the same venue to see a gig, and it was chucking it down with rain, and we kind of thought, actually, do you know what? Let's forget this. It's a gamble, isn't it?
Again, is I think where the stadiums can do well. I saw Coldplay at the Emirates, Arsenal's ground last year, and it was tipping it down, but most of the people were under the roof because you're sitting in a stand. So it's that's another reason why the stadiums. To be honest, if you're talking about 30,000 in Milton Keynes, why not do it at the football ground? That's got a car park. It's got the facilities. There's not. It's not like if you come on and you say, "Good evening, Wembley Stadium. Good evening, Hyde Park." That has a cachet and a romance to it that "Good evening, Milton Keynes Bowl" just doesn't. I don't think it has that kind of affection in people's hearts that other venues do. Even Nebworth, in Three Counties country, Nebworth has much more of a kind of romance and cachet to it than Milton Keynes Bowl.
Stephen, is that a good point? That the Bowl it just isn't a romantic venue.
Maybe not romantic, but I'm not sure I agree it's not got that cachet. If you only need to go on YouTube and type Milton Keynes Bowl, and you've got the Queen at Milton Keynes Bowl with a huge concert, Robbie Williams. There's been some really big concerts there that people remember quite fondly, I think.
It does strike me as a little bit sad, Stephen, that this, and it is a fantastic venue, and it has, you're right, it's got some historical performances there, that it's only going to get possibly one, capacity act a year. Is that a bit sad?
It is a bit sad, and I mean, as I said earlier, in terms of Milton Keynes, we love it when it's full, obviously, because we get 60,000 people into the city, but if we could do this and pull more regular shows in for 30,000 capacity, that's great too. I think it's the kind of venue that needs to be used. So whatever we use it for, I think we just need to pull the people in.
OK, listen, thank you very much indeed. Stephen Gordon-Wilson, Chief Exec of Destination MK. And the other voice you heard there was Chris Salmon, a music journalist. You've been on Facebook putting some comments about this. Anne-Marie says, I saw the Foo Fighters in 2011. They were amazing. Lorraine says, great venue, seen a few big bands there. Getting in and out is nowhere as bad as Nebworth. Or Nebworth, it's just that road, isn't it? That's a nightmare, Nebworth. And the sound is good. Smaller gigs just don't have the atmosphere. Well, Chris does raise a good point. 30,000. That's still a big draw. There's not many people that could sell out 30,000. Satine says, I saw AC/DC after being persuaded to expand my live concert experiences after I'd been to the Classical Spectacular. It was incredible, added to by the sun shining. The main thing about the Bowl is its national status. Friends have travelled all over the country to see music here. 08459 455 555. Your memories of the Milton Keynes Bowl, please. 8:15 now. Here's the travel news. Adam Glynn.
Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting to slow a little bit at the Black Cat roundabout. The A1 in Roxton looking busy with a queue approaching the roundabout. And then if you're using the A1 to go all the way down toward London, well, it slows again as you go between Hitchin and Stevenage along the A1M. And then it's the A1 in Boreham Wood that's looking busy between the Holiday Inn and Mill Hill at the Broadway. M25 hasn't let up even a little bit. Anti-clockwise is now pretty much one queue from junction 21 at the M1 through to 16 at the M40. Meanwhile, looking at the trains for you, things are looking reasonably good with no major problems or delays on those departure boards. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to read the news very, very slowly to give Jonathan Vernon-Smith the chance to realise what time it is. It's 8:16. It's Wednesday, the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl want to make improvements so more regular, smaller concerts can be held at the venue. A teenager's been banned from watching football for 5 years after running onto a pitch and attacking the Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. In sport, Luton Town won their first match in 5 as they beat Lincoln 3-0 in the conference last night. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks: cold, damp start, bright and sunny spells through the late morning and into the afternoon. Maximum temperature is 10 degrees. Coming up, Parliament will return to... You've turned up, have you? You're here now. You're right.
Yeah.
And then your boss just came in and gave you changed your sheet.
We changed the script.
Oh, OK, well, you settle down, my dear, and I'll get to you in a second. Thanks. Coming up, Parliament will return today to debate a special motion paying tribute to Baroness Thatcher. We'll find out more before 8:30.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every weekday between 12 and 3, I'm here with a little bit of celebrity.
I've always loved being a comedian because it's my job, so I'm going to keep doing that.
I was voted Japan's #1 male vocalist of the year, and I beat out Frank Sinatra. How's that?
Expert advice.
It does sound like it's a mechanical pain brought on by altered mechanics in your upper limb.
Your capital's protected because I'm guessing what you don't want to do is take any risks with the capital itself.
And loads of really great music.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Gotcha! Oh. Gotcha! Look at your lovely crisp white shirt.
Crisp white shirt.
When you wash that, you must add a little oxy-power.
It's got fluff on it. It's not completely crisp and white. I went out last night to a popular music concert.
You were wearing the same shirt?
Yes. I wasn't dancing. I was sat for most of it until the end when everyone stood up. You've got to stand up then, haven't you? But I put it on at 6:30. I took it off at 11:15. I thought, now, a little sniff under the armpits. I can get away with that tomorrow.
Was it all right?
It was all right. A little spray with deodorant on it, just to freshen it up a little bit. But I thought I'm not a little spritz. I thought I'm not gonna waste. This has only been on for sort of 4.5 hours. No, I'm not going to waste that. I'm going to wear it again tomorrow for work.
Right.
So that's the story of my shirt.
By the end of work, will it have just that slight aroma? That slight aroma that you get on a Thameslink train at about 6 o'clock, full of sweaty businessmen.
It's going to have the scent of local news. No, don't pull that face. That's a good thing, isn't it?
The smell of local news.
Yes. Have you heard the news about us?
What news?
Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't tell you. I don't know if this is an exclusive or not.
What?
We're going to be on a. Maybe you don't know this. Maybe I shouldn't tell you.
I don't know anything.
We're going to be on a bus.
We're going to be on a bus?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I don't know if that's a secret. I don't know if I may have... well, if it is,
Oh, my
it's not...
God, no one's told me about... Really?
I'm going to be on the side, you're going to be on the back. It's going to be brilliant. I'm very excited. We're going to be... that may have been unbongoed. I may have just broken an unbongo. I do apologise, but we're going to...
Why am I on the back?
You're the conductor and the driver. No, posters. Posters of... But the being on the back's great, though, because people, when they're stuck behind a bus and they're swearing...
My face.
Yeah, they'll associate you with being angry.
Oh.
So they'll listen to the show and you'll get lots of angry people phoning you up saying, I was stuck behind you today.
Do you know, many years ago when I was on radio in a different part of the country,
yes,
I remember pulling up at a junction and I was on the side of buses there,
yeah,
and one bus pulled up on the left and another bus pulled up on the right, and I just had two of my big fat faces staring down on me.
That's horrible.
Oh, it's freaky.
I was, a long time ago in a different life, I had there was a huge proper billboard with me on. Imagine that. If this was for telly.
Billboard.
A billboard. And it was the most amazing thing. I was 26, I was on a billboard, and I wanted to take a picture for my mum. But imagine taking a picture of yourself on a billboard. I did, but I looked like a plonker. Someone went, hey, whoa, hang on, that's you muppet. And, yes.
So we're not having billboards?
No.
Just buses?
We're not having billboards.
Oh. Right.
No, I realised I may have said this.
You're having a billboard? I can't believe what's going on here.
You're having, Tim's going to wear a sandwich board. Walk up and down
the boards. How rude, honestly.
What's on your show this morning, JVS?
Coming up this morning at 9, how do you feel about the people celebrating Margaret Thatcher's death? The headlines in many of today's papers feature the hostility that's been shown towards Margaret Thatcher from some sections of society following her death. Critics from all over the country, in places such as Glasgow, Belfast, Bristol, Brixton and Liverpool, took to the streets to hold what have been dubbed as Thatcher death parties. In Bristol, 7 police officers were injured, one seriously, as violence erupted at a street party of 200 people, and officers were pelted with bottles, cans and rubbish. The Daily Mail leads with the flames of hatred. The Independent shows an image of graffiti about Mrs Thatcher. Well, from 9 this morning, I want to hear your views. How do you feel about the people celebrating Margaret Thatcher's death? Yesterday on my phone, I was amazed how many people were phoning up saying they had no respect for her. They really, when they think of her time in office, it's all negative. And lots of people actually on the programme yesterday saying they're quite pleased that at least the era of Margaret Thatcher has now died.
Yes.
Well, I want to hear your views from 9. How do you feel about these people that are celebrating Margaret Thatcher's death? Do you know that the song Ding Dong the Witch is Dead is now number 2 in the iTunes downloads?
Is it really?
It's now number 1 on Amazon. So I want to hear your views about all of that. From 9 this morning, lots of people seem to be celebrating her death. Are you? We'll talk about it on the big phone in.
08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Jonathan Vernon Smith there. You send him an email as well if you want. jvsshow@bbc.co.uk if you want to do that. You can also email me. It's nice to get your emails. You've started. You can email me with 2 things, OK? Well, you can email me, just say hello if you want. But we're always looking for stories, local stories from Beds, Hearts and Bucks. If you've got something that's affecting you, whether it be in your house, your street, your town, your county, email me, ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. And also, you know, we have the odd little music acts on a Friday. Harpist, we had a 2-man choir who did some beatboxing, other bits and pieces, bagpipes, banjos. If you're an unusual act, and when I say unusual, I don't mean like a pop group, you know, singer-songwriters, I don't mean that, something a little bit different, could you send me an email? ian.lee, IAIN.LEE @bbc.co.uk. Now, imagine your cat comes home and you find out it's had some of its fur shaved off and some cruel little muppet has scribbled the words, "Please neuter your cat," in red pen. Well, that's what happened to Sharon Munn's cat, Bex. Our reporter Justin Dealey has been to see Sharon at her home in Bedford. She says the attack on her 11-year-old cat has shocked the community.
The night my daughter brought him home, he meted her at the car and woke me up, and I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe it. We've been here 9 years. Nothing has ever happened like this before. He's such a placid cat, And I just shocked. She thought he'd been attacked at first and then said, Mum, he's been shaven and written on. It was just absolutely devastating. It really was.
When I met Bex this morning, Bex seems like such a lovely cat, a very quiet cat. To think that somebody's had him in their home, holding him down and shaving him, I mean, just how does that make you feel?
Just unbelievable. I really just can't believe that someone would do that.
You can see a picture of Bex, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Lots of you have commented. Lorraine says, I agree, this is very wrong, but the message is so right. People should neuter their pets. Shame the message writers found such an awful way of saying it. Linda says, I'm an animal lover. I do realise that cats can be a problem when they poo in neighbours' gardens, but the person that does this to an animal is obviously a bully. And Benjamin says, even though I hate cats, as they're a pain, I wouldn't condone or wish any bad action towards a cat. Whoever done this shouldn't be allowed in public. 08459 455 555. Parliament will return today to debate a special motion paying tribute to Baroness Thatcher. Prime Minister David Cameron will speak first in the debate, then giving other MPs chances to pay tribute. This follows the announcement of plans for next week's funeral, which will take place on Wednesday. Well, our reporter Neil Cartmel can tell us more. Morning, Neil.
Good morning, Ian.
Neil, what's happening in Parliament today?
They've recalled Parliament early from the Easter recess to debate. I say debate in inverted commas, really. It's going to be more of a procession of tributes. That's the idea, that it gives MPs a chance to pay tribute to the work of Baroness Thatcher in politics. It's a one-line motion brought by the Prime Minister David Cameron. Essentially, it says, considered the matter of tributes to the Right Honourable Baroness Thatcher of Kesteven. And they'll bring back the House of Lords as well. I suspect most of the more personal tributes will come from the House of Lords, because that's where many of her former colleagues, of course, now reside.
Of course, leaders have already paid many public tributes to Baroness Thatcher, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. David Cameron yesterday called her the Patriot Prime Minister, said she'd taken a country that was on its knees and made it stand tall again. Ed Miliband, leader of the Labour Party, said that while many disagreed with her policies within the Labour Party, they'd agreed that there was huge respect and perhaps extraordinary personal strength in her final days of illness. And the Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg paid tribute as well, and Barack Obama said America had lost a true friend. So many tributes came through yesterday, and of course Parliament comes back today for this debate, which will be 7.5 hours. It could be 7.5 hours worth of tributes, because it's tabled to last until 10 o'clock. Not everyone is happy, though, it has to be said. Labour MP John Mann has said that he thinks it's a waste of taxpayers' money, doesn't see the need for Parliament to be recalled, and thinks it's perfectly proper for people to pay their respects privately. It doesn't need to be done in Parliament. And Respect MP George Galloway has gone slightly further and said it's a state-organised eulogy.
7.5 hours. Can't they all just do, tweet their tributes and hashtag Thatcher or something like that? It would save a bit of time.
I think if there was a 140-character limit, it'd be a bit quicker. I mean, it may not last 7.5 hours.
Right, that's the maximum.
The fact is, that's the maximum, but it will last a long time. And when you consider that the tributes to Edward Heath, the last Prime Minister to die back in 2005, were a grand total of 63 minutes, this will be considerably different.
The funeral's taking place next Wednesday. What are the plans?
Currently, the plan is that it's not a state funeral, but it will essentially look as pretty much the same as a state funeral in many ways. The coffin will be taken on a gun carriage from Trafalgar Square, from St Clement's Hall Danes, just off Trafalgar Square, up the Strand, up Fleet Street to St Paul's Cathedral. The service itself is private, not open to members of the public. Of course, the Queen and Prince Philip are in attendance, and the members of the armed forces will line the route. The route itself, of course, is open to the members of the public, and that will, of course, cause some problems for the police.
Well, as I say, there must be fears of disorder, because a lot of people, as we heard, are pleased to see her go. So, what are they expecting?
Well, if you look at the papers this morning, I think the Star has got on their front page £10 million security bill, Ring of Steel or something along those lines. And the Mail and I think the Guardian are talking about the fact that police are monitoring social networking sites. They're very much aware of the possibility of protest, particularly because it's a public parade through the streets, and the fact that members of the public can attend that, and there were protests yesterday. The police operation to make sure everything goes peacefully is called Operation... forgive me, it's just slipped my mind, Ian. Operation Blue something.
It's Blue Nun or something, isn't it? It's not Blue Nun, that's so cheap wine. It's
Operation True Blue. Than it were Blue Nun.
Yes, that would make things go a little bit smoother. Adam, listen, we have to end it there. Neil, I have to end it there. Appreciate your time, Neil Cartmel. telling us about the preparations for Margaret Thatcher's funeral next week. Well, JVS is going to be discussing Thatcher on his phone in today. He's asking, how do you feel about the people celebrating Margaret Thatcher's death? You can start getting in touch with him now, 08459 455 555, or you can send him an email, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. 8:29. Travel news now, Adam Glynn.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
By and large, we're not doing too badly this morning. Things are looking okay on the trains. We haven't got anything running more than about 2 or 3 minutes late at present. The roads are doing okay. The M25 is busy though. Junction 21 at the M1 round to the M40 at junction 16 anti-clockwise is where it's slowest. Then we've got a few patches of traffic, mainly along the A1. First off at Roxton, approaching the Black Cat roundabout, it's queuing, and the A421's looking slow as well. Then, as you go along the A1M, it's looking slow on the speed sensors between Hitchin at junction 8 and Stevenage at junction 7. And after you get through there, it's running pretty freely until you get down toward London. And then the A1 is busy with queues in Boreham Wood between the Holiday Inn and Mill Hill. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much. 8:30. Let's get the latest news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl say they want to make it easier for promoters to hold more regular, smaller concerts there. The retrial of 4 members of the same Bedfordshire family accused of keeping men captive and forcing them to work continues later on today. A teenager's been banned from watching football for 5 years after running onto a pitch and attacking the Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. And a Bedford woman whose cat was shaved and had the words written on his back, "Please new to this cat" in red pen, says it shocked the community. That's the news. Now let's move on to all the morning sport.
Beds, Herts and Bucks sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So MK Dons have moved within 4 points of League One playoffs with 4 games to go. It comes after their win over Swindon last night. It means manager Carl Robinson's not ruling out promotion either.
We should now only be sitting 2 points behind Swindon and not 4. But we are where we are, and we're in the mix now, and we're a big game away at Leyton Orient at the weekend, and that's going to be a big ask for everybody involved.
Let's have a look at League Two, and Wycombe Wanderers suffered a 2-0 defeat against Burton Albion. The Chairboys conceded 2 goals after the break. Player-manager Gareth Ainsworth, though, thought it was the right result.
I thought first half we competed quite well. They probably had their spoils, but we had a couple of chances and a lot of set plays we didn't capitalise on. But then second half, the early goal really killed us, and it was tough to get back into it.
Things are looking up for Luton Town. They won their first match in 5 last night as they beat Lincoln 3-0 at Kenilworth Road in the conference. Elsewhere locally, in Conference South, Boreham Wood's playoff chances were dented as they lost 2-1 at home to Havant Waterlooville. Bishop Stortford drew 1-1 at Halifax in Conference North, whereas in the Southern Premier, Bedford suffered a 4-0 defeat at Gosport. Borussia Dortmund's coach believes his side will be the winners of the Champions League. It comes after they scored 2 injury time goals to come from behind and beat Malaga 3-2. Securing their place in the semis. Real Madrid, meanwhile, are also through to the last 4. That's despite losing 3-2 at Galatasaray. And let's have a look at golf. The 4 times Masters champion Tiger Woods has been grouped with Britain's Luke Donald and American Scott Piercy. That's for the first 2 rounds of this week's tournament in Augusta. BBC Three Counties Radio, more from me at 9.
Across Beds, Herts and Bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Do you know what? And I can justify this because one of the team is very heavily pregnant. We've just discussed it's 8:30 in the morning. We've just discussed the possibility of having a pizza delivered for our breakfast, and we're isn't that grubby? That's so grubby. Work Experience Ollie is Googling what time the pizza delivery place opens. Ollie, what time would we be able to get a pizza delivered to us? Producer Laura, can you...
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you know what? I've got no idea. I think the earliest would be midday.
No.
And it's 8:33. If anybody knows any differently, please let us know, because quite frankly, I'm 31 weeks pregnant today, pregnant. And I've got a craving.
Yeah, she's a pregnant lady. Well, you've brought in cold pizza, and it was me that suggested maybe we could get one delivered or something.
Yeah, now that's all I can think about.
Man, there's got to be like a 24-hour pizza. Ollie's got information. Ollie, you can shout. We can hear you. You can shout.
They start delivering at 10 a.m.
Yes!
Yes! Wow!
Pizza for the meeting. Thank you very much, team. Good work. Look at that. It's dirty, isn't it? And we can get that pizza because of the unique way the BBC is funded. So thank you very much indeed for that. Sorry. Coming up between now and 9 o'clock, at what age are you too old to have children? There's been a big increase in the number of women having kids beyond the age of 40. Well, I'll be speaking to a woman who had her first child at 47 to find out what she thinks. And I want to hear your memories of the National Bowl in Milton Keynes. Maybe you saw Robbie Williams there, Springsteen, Bowie. Our reporter, Justin Dealey, is in Milton Keynes this morning, finding out more about the concerts you enjoyed and who you'd like to see in the future.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
We spoke to Matt Loddy, who is running 30 marathons in 30 days. You have to ask yourself why. Well, he's doing it for an excellent reason. He's doing it to raise money via the Framework Foundation for the Teenage Cancer Trust. Well, Jan is from Hemel Hempstead. Good morning, Jan.
Good morning.
Now, you have a connection with Matt, is that correct?
Yes, I certainly do. I run the charity Framework Foundation for Matthew and the other trustees.
And why have you called in, Jan? What's going on?
Well, I had to wait until after you'd finished interviewing him this morning because he doesn't actually know. Well, I hope he still doesn't know. We've played it down with him so much, but I asked him to change his route for today to run into the bandstand in the middle of Hemel Hempstead.
Yeah.
And I told him it was just so that we could maximise the publicity.
Yeah.
What he doesn't know is that we've got the mayor coming out to greet him, and hopefully, loads of people coming into the town centre to greet him home into his hometown. He is the most extraordinary man, and I just think he deserves a huge hero's welcome.
He came in a few weeks ago, and he's a nice bloke. He's very quiet, very very humble gentleman. So is this the bandstand? Is this going to be the end of the marathon, or is this a little kind of break?
Yeah, no, this is where he's running to. This is the finish of today's marathon. Is Hemel Hempstead bandstand in the town centre.
He thinks he's going to get a cup of coffee in a granola bar.
Yeah, I know.
so listen, tell people what time. If we want to try and get some people down there to cheer him on.
That'd be so great. Thank you so much.
What time should people get there?
Right, if we can ask people to arrive by 1:40, based on Matthew's normal speed, and he is quite extraordinary, even with a tie in his, a tear in his thigh, he's still running in sub 3:30 marathons, which is amazing at 47 years old. So if we can get people to arrive at 1:40, they won't miss him. He should arrive around 1:50, we're expecting.
And just tell everyone again exactly where it is.
Okay, it's at the bandstand in the middle of the Marlows in Hemel Hempstead, which is the outdoor part of the shopping centre, right outside the main shops. Everybody in Hemel probably knows where that is. It looks like a big round gazebo. You'll hear us. We're going to have a little PA system down there, sort of greeting people and welcoming them and getting them to stand around.
Well, listen, we're going to send our reporter Justin Dealey down there. I hope that doesn't dampen spirits too much.
I spoke to Justin yesterday. He does know about it.
Okay, good. Well, Justin's going to come down, and people will be able to hear more about this on Roberto's show later on today. Best of luck, Jan.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And he's a nice fella, Matt. He's doing something completely ridiculous, but you can hear what happens when he gets his surprise party on Roberto Perroni's show later on today. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Do older people make better parents? A new study has found that the number of women choosing to have kids after their 40th birthday has shot up by nearly 300% since 1992. Lots of males and females are doing it. Celebrities Elton John, Michael Douglas, Sarah Jessica Parker all had their children in their 40s, 50s and beyond. But does that make it right? Justin Dealey has been speaking to parents in Luton, such as Rachel.
Rachel, you're 29.
Yeah.
How many children have you got?
I have 3 children.
And when was your first? How old were you?
I was 21 when I had my first child.
So when do you think a lady is too old to have a baby?
I'd say about 45, maybe even 40, because you need to do things with your children. I mean, you need to be fit enough, you need to be active enough to do things.
Let me ask you this finally. If you knew somebody in their mid-50s and they said to you, Sarah, I'm thinking about having another child, what would you say to them?
I think they're mad. I think they're crazy, because I think there was a time to do that.
And would you actually say that to them?
In your 30s? Yeah, I would. I'm quite an honest person, so yeah, I would.
Well, Ellie Stoneley had her first child 15 months ago at the age of 47. She joins me now. Morning, Ellie.
Good morning.
You had a rough night's sleep, I gather.
Yeah, I did. She was awake. She's teething at the moment.
Why did you leave it so late to have your daughter?
To be honest, it was just circumstance. I was with somebody who died, and then by the time I met somebody else, I I was much older. I had been pregnant before, and I'd had a couple of miscarriages. So really, it was just circumstance. It definitely wasn't leaving it later, so I had the money to pay for a child or anything like that. It was just purely circumstance for me.
And with your kind of previous health history and being slightly older, were you worried about how this pregnancy would go?
Yes, of course I was. I mean, it's a huge thing to have IVF. It's an emotional roller coaster, it's a physical roller coaster, and it's a lot of hard work. So having discussed it with medical profession on the NHS, discussed it at Bourne Hall, and discussed it with a clinic in Spain, I thought if I'm going to go through it, I have to prepare myself sort of physically, and I have to make sure I'm as fit as I possibly can be. I have to make sure I'm as healthy as I possibly can be. So I became a really sort of strict person with myself, and obviously the no alcohol thing when you get pregnant I completely adhered to, but I did that for a year before I was pregnant. I also maintained a pretty much vegetarian diet. I walked for up to 3 hours a day, and I just did everything that the doctors said to do, and I was really, really, really disciplined with it.
How old is the dad?
He's 50.
Okay, so he's a little bit older.
Yeah.
There might be some people listening, Ellie, who might think that having a child at 47 and 50, it could be perceived as being a little bit selfish, because you're going to both be 70 when she's 20 or thereabouts.
That's true. And that's a fact, but I have to just make sure that, again, we stay as fit and as healthy as we possibly can, and we do as much with her. I mean, I think you never know what life's going to throw at you. I had to go to a funeral not long ago of a friend who died in her 30s, and she left 2 children, so you really never know what's around the corner. I've travelled with hope.
I was going to say, does it worry you, Ellie, that you know, you say we don't know what's around the corner, and my dad passed recently at 62, and my mum's very ill. Do you worry about your daughter's future and possibly having to care for you?
I have done a lot to make sure that sort of financially she's going to be secure. She's got various bank accounts and things set up. She also has 8 godparents.
Wow, okay, right.
Who are going to be there to sort of look after her, but I fully intend to be around as long as I possibly can. My own mother's 86 now, and she's a huge important part of the sort of care network around Hope at the moment.
And what did your friends and family say when you came out and went, hey, I'm pregnant? Did any of them take you to one side and say, are you sure you know what you're doing?
You know, not one single person did. And in the medical profession, not one single person said that. What they did say was there's a lot of chance that the pregnancy may fail, and so people were very, very pragmatic about that, and hence I was very, very sort of sensible about the whole pregnancy thing. But no, everybody was just absolutely delighted. And no, Hope's just a very, very loved little girl who's been given as many opportunities as she possibly can. And, you know, I go to playgroups. The average age there is kind of late 30s. And as you've said in your piece, the government, the statistics are that a lot of people are having children older. And the other thing is that NICE, the government health organisation, recently changed their guidelines to say that they recommend that IVF can happen on the NHS up to the age of 39. It used to be up to the age of 35. So if I'd been able to get NHS IVF a few years earlier, I wouldn't have been as old when I had my first child.
And Hope, your daughter, is she well and healthy? Is she talking yet?
Oh, she's chatting away. She sings "Row, row, row the boat." She crawls everywhere at high speed, and no, she's remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
It's hard work though. I've got a 3-year-old, and I guess the youngest one's probably 15 months now as well. It's hard work, isn't it?
It's great. It's hard work. I'm self-employed, so for me, you know, it's hard when I work at home and sort of I get distracted and want to go and play with her.
Well, Ellie, enjoy it. It gets better and better every single day. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Thanks very much for coming on.
It really does. Thank you very much, and good luck with your 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Ellie Stoneley. First child, 15 months ago, at the age of 47. It is hard work. But, man, it's the most fun. When my eldest yesterday, Daddy, do you want to play pirates with me in the garden? Yeah, I'd love to. That wasn't good enough. He had to go to his mum and say, Mama, can Daddy and I allowed in the garden, please? Yeah, of course you can. Fantastic. Margaret's from Sharnbrook. Morning, Margaret.
Good morning.
You are, I'm going to say this, please don't think I'm rude, you're an older mum.
I am, indeed. I'm 46 soon. I had my daughter a month before, she was born a month before my 42nd birthday.
Right.
And and I'd lost pregnancies before that, and I lost during her pregnancy as well. So I had quite a difficult pregnancy.
Yeah.
Now, whether that was down to my age, nobody actually said it was, but perhaps it was, I don't know. But I did quite a lot what that last caller did. I prepared myself for a good year, before. I didn't drink alcohol. I tried to keep healthy and slim and fit and well, and I have got a younger husband, so that probably helped.
How old's he?
He's 11 years younger than me.
Oh, look at you, Margaret, you mucky pup.
No, I'm a cheeky monkey. That's great. And I think, though, I did have her just in the nick of time.
You think any older would have been troublesome?
Yeah, definitely. I did have a tricky pregnancy, but I'm so glad I have her. My life would be so different now if I didn't have her. I'd still have a good life. But I think also having them older, if you're fit and healthy and you've got a good support system around you and you've got a stable marriage and you've got financially you're okay. Obviously, when you're older, you have that added bonus that you're hopefully financially stable. Yeah. And, God forbid anything would happen, she will be fine. Financial wise, because we've prepared for that, but I would say that we did make a choice to not have any more after her, because we were just so grateful that we got her, and she's well and she's fit and she's we're just privileged to have her, very lucky to have her at this stage. And I didn't plan to have her older, it's just how it worked out. I didn't meet the right person, and then I did, so that's how it happened that I had her later.
You met the right person. He was a young lad, Margaret.
I know.
I'm shocked. Listen, you're right. The right word there? It's a privilege to have. It's a privilege to have them. Of course, it's such a gift. And if I'd have heard myself saying this 4 or 5 years ago, oh, jog on, you silly old sausage. But it really is. And until you're a parent, you just don't know how much fun it is. Margaret, thank you very much indeed. We've got to move on. 8:45. Travel news now. Adam Glynn.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking a little bit slow around Newport Pagnell. The A509 down toward the M1 is looking busy. It's also slow near to Milton Keynes along the A421. Standing Way in particular is looking slow. Around Stevenage, the A1M, as you go past, it's looking busy. On the southbound side, mainly from Hitchin to Stevenage, same queue as earlier, but it's easing off just a little bit. Dunstable, the A5's looking slow, mainly on the London-bound side, as you go past the A505. A414 in Hemel Hempstead is slow between the Leverstock Greenway and the M1 at Junction 8. Southbound A1, again, it's busy in Boreham Wood from the Holiday Inn through to the Broadway at Mill Hill. And the M25, no reprieve yet this morning, with queuing traffic from Junction 20 at Kings Langley round to 15 at the M4. Trains, though, looking OK on the departure boards right now. Thankfully, things are quite quiet. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Adam. Right, it's nearly 8:47. It's Wednesday, the 10th of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines this morning on BBC Three Counties Radio. Operators of Milton Keynes National Bowl want to make improvements so more regular, smaller concerts can be held at the venue. A teenager has been banned from watching football for 5 years after running onto a pitch and attacking the Wycombe Wanderers goalkeeper. In sport, MK Dons have moved to within 4 points of the League One playoffs after their win over Swindon last night. Coming up, what are your memories of the National Bowl in Milton Keynes? Maybe you saw Robbie Williams there. If you did, I can only apologise. Or maybe it was Bruce Springsteen or Bowie. Well, before 9, we'll hear more from our reporter Justin Dealey, who is our National Bowl correspondent. He's in Milton Keynes this morning, finding out about the concerts you enjoyed and who you'd like to see there in the future. Before that, though, let's get the latest weather with Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. It's a chilly start to the day, just 1 degree at Luton Airport at the moment. A lot of misty, murky, low cloud around as well, but we're expecting that to start lifting and breaking as we go through the afternoon for some sunny spells, and that will help to lift the temperature to about 10 degrees Celsius at the top end. Winds are light today, they're coming from the south, and apart from 1 or 2 light showers, which are a possibility, it's going to be largely dry. That is until after dark, because we will have this batch of rain coming up. That's going to be quite persistent and heavy, sort of early evening onwards, really. I think you'll start to see hints of that from the south, but it's fizzling out by the early hours of the morning. The winds will be picking up, though, and temperatures will hold between 5 and 7 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow, a somewhat damp and cloudy feel to things to begin with, but there should be some sunshine later on in the day. But watch out, too, for 1 or 2 showers being triggered off by that. A somewhat blustery day, but temperatures won't do too badly. 12 or 13 degrees Celsius possibility. And then for Friday again, slightly lighter winds. There will be 1 or 2 showers around, though, ahead of the weekend, which at the moment is looking pretty decent. There will be some dry and sunny weather, and we could see temperatures of maybe 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. Watch this space. And that's your weather's looking this morning.
Thank you, Wendy.
Every weekday morning from 9.
The JVS Show.
With the biggest questions.
Today on the Big Phone-In, I'm asking, would you support some dog breeds being removed from this country? Should traffic wardens be more lenient? Would the government be right to drop the minimum price for alcohol?
And the biggest opinions.
I think the tax is completely unfair.
It doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. They're still your children.
It doesn't matter whether it's male or female or what. I'm disgusted with the people. You should have cut them people off.
The JVS Show.
Weekdays from 9.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Right, this is Iain Lee here for another 10 minutes. I'm here every morning, by the way, 6 till 9 o'clock. I say every morning, I mean the weekday mornings. BBC Three Counties Radio has exclusively been told that the National Bowl, which has attracted huge acts from the likes of Michael Jackson to Queen and David Bowie, is now looking to have more regular but smaller concerts. It currently holds up to 65,000 people, but only attracts one big music act a year. Well, our concert correspondent, Justin Dealey, be careful how I say that, Justin Dealey is in Milton Keynes this morning. Justin?
Iain, good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say, in terms of fantasy acts for me, it would probably be David Bowie or the Rolling Stones. I would go to the Milton Keynes Bowl to watch those acts. However, I want to picture night. What do you mean, oh dear?
Oh, listen, you don't get me started on the Stones, Dealey. They are style over substance. They're rubbish.
What?
I know. They've done 3 good songs.
Wash your mouth out. How dare you?
Listen, how on earth they're bigger than The Who, which have just done masterpiece after masterpiece. They've done 3 good songs, and people one day... 3 good songs.
3 good songs?
I'll tell you what they are.
Yeah, go
on. Angie.
Yeah, great record, yeah.
Yeah. Wild Horses.
Yeah.
And You Can't Always Get What You Want.
What about I Can't Get No Satisfaction? What about that?
It's a rubbish sub-Manfred Mann style pop song. Awful.
I thought we were friends.
No.
So I want to pitch an idea this morning.
Okay.
I know that the people who run the bowl are listening to this. What about this one? Orange Fest, okay? Tom Jones, the headline act, along with Engelbert Humperdinck, Des O'Connor and Gilbert O'Sullivan as support acts.
And you could compare. Go to that. You could compare.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
That'd be wonderful.
Let's sell it straight away.
Can I just say, I do like a bit of Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Oh, he's great, isn't he?
He's completely overlooked as one of Britain's greatest singers. Alone Again Naturally. It's a brilliant song.
That was used in a rap song as well, I believe.
Was it?
So the Rolling Stones only made 3 decent records and the Gilbert O'Sullivan is overlooked. So I thought we were friends. People in Milton Keynes have got some great memories and stories of the bowl. I've been getting reaction in the last 30 minutes or so, and this is what people had to say. Jane, I hate you. You've seen the A to Z of acts at the Milton Keynes Bowl. Tell us who you've seen there.
I've seen David Bowie, I've seen Robbie Williams a couple of times, I've seen Michael Jackson a couple of times, general concerts where there were quite a lot of people. Quite a few over the years. U2 probably.
What a lineup out of that lot. Who was the best?
Oh, Michael Jackson, without a doubt.
Oh, Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Robbie Williams runs him a close second, and Bowie was great, but it probably wasn't my scene at the time. I just went because he was there.
OK, so MJ for you.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see there again? If there was one act that could perform locally here in Milton Keynes, what will get you on that phone booking tickets that morning?
Oh, definitely Robbie Williams.
What is it about Robbie? Come on, tell us. What is it about Robbie that gets you going?
I don't know. I think women kind of want him to be their son in a way. I don't know what it is. But he also loves performing. People might think he's arrogant, but he's not. He's just a total and utter performer.
Well, Lee, you're a big fan of the Milton Keynes Bowl. You've been there a few times. Tell us who you've seen live.
Green Day, Eminem, Oasis, Swedish House Mafia.
Swedish House Mafia as well? Banging tunes?
Yeah, quite a few.
So, out of all of those then, who would you say was the best?
Green Day.
And would you like to see them again? Would they be your fantasy act again to see at the Milton Keynes Bowl?
I don't know about fantasy, but I would, definitely go and see them again. Yeah.
And describe how good the experience was for you when you've been on those few occasions.
The sun's out, it's pucker.
Ryan, you're a massive fan of the Milton Keynes Bowl. Tell us who you've seen there.
Oasis, Jay-Z, Linkin Park, a few of the Summer Excesses, and Eminem.
And how would you score that venue out of 10?
10.
Really, that good?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Swedish House Mafia was the most recent one I've been to.
Okay.
And that was amazing, yeah.
And just lastly, who would you like to see there again?
I've seen Oasis, so my second favourite band would be Coldplay. I'd love to see Coldplay.
Yeah, if they were back, that would get you back there straight away.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And a final word here with Michaela. Michaela, again, you're so lucky. You saw Michael Jackson at the Milton Keynes Bowl in the 1980s. What was that concert like?
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
It was unreal, yeah. It was kind of like, it was surreal. Yeah. You can't actually believe, he's there, and it was just unbelievable. Yeah.
Absolutely magical for you.
Yeah.
You haven't been back since. What will get you back to the Milton Keynes Bowl?
I think maybe Mariah Carey, Flow Rider, or a good old Motown. Lots of groups singing Motown and stuff like that.
Excellent report there. Sorry, Justin?
You're right there, Ian.
Yeah, just bear with me. A little bit of Gilbert. Just give me a second.
And he's still got the hair, by the way.
Oh, good. Indulge me. Here we go. Told you once before that I want to hear you more, so get down, get down, get down. You're a bad girl, baby. The lads don't want you around. Come on, man.
Brilliant.
We're playing that tomorrow morning.
Oh, absolutely. I've got an issue with you. The Rolling Stones, 3 good songs. I can't get over this. 19th Nervous Breakdown. Come on.
Justin. Justin, we're losing the signal. Oh, no. We lost the signal in a really weird kind of sort of fading down type way, which is unusual for a signal to go like that. Well, we are talking about the Milton Keynes Bowl. We've got James on the line now. James runs the car boots at the Bowl. Morning, James.
Morning.
How long have you been running car boot sales at the Bowl?
At the Bowl, we've been there since 2004.
And are they still popular? Because listen, I love a good rummage. I love a car boot sale, but a lot of them are struggling these days because of things like eBay and FreeCycle.
No, we're doing fine. Most of the people that work eBay, they come up the boot sale really early on a Sunday morning, and they'll buy their stuff there and then sell it on eBay because it is still cheaper to buy up the boot sale. Apparently.
How many people are you getting in there, do you reckon?
Well, we would get, on a good day, obviously the weather, but on a good day we'd get about 500 people selling and up to 5,000 people walking around.
Listen, and tell me exactly when you do these car boot sales, because as I say, I do love a car boot sale, and it's harder and harder to find a decent one.
Every Sunday. And we open at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I'm not coming at 5. I'm not coming at 5, I'll tell you that now, but I'm certainly going to pop along. What do you feel about Milton Keynes Bowl? It's kind of place as a music venue is slipping slightly, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Bowl. It's the best place to have a music concert. It's magic. It's really good. When you get 65,000 in there, it's really good. And unfortunately, the acts haven't been coming lately, but that's what it's for, and that's what it should be for.
Any idea? I mean, why do you think fewer big artists have appeared there in recent years?
I really don't know. I don't get involved in that side of it, but it is a shame because it's good to see.
It does seem odd, doesn't it, James, that this music venue that has had some of the biggest acts in the world playing there, the sign outside where it should be listing the bands, it just says car boot market here.
Well, I can't complain at that because obviously we run the car boot sale there, but yeah, I agree. It would be nice to see a few more acts there.
James, listen, thank you very much indeed. That's James who runs the car boot sale. I love a car boot sale. 1, because I like a rummage. 2, because I'm nosy. I'm really keen to see what people think is junk, that they're clearing out of their houses. It's wonderful. Richard on Facebook, I've seen R.E.M., Radiohead and Supergrass all on the same billing. Oh, I do like Supergrass. I miss them. Julie, I was at the very first concert, The Police. It rained constantly the night before and most of the day of the concert. It was a mud bath. I remember people slipping and sliding head to toe in mud. I've also seen Erasure, don't. Simple Minds, David Bowie, Michael Jackson and Robbie Williams. On the text, I watched the Foo Fighters at MK Bowl in 2011. 70,000 all standing. It's a great venue, great acoustics, and I saw no trouble. It was an amazing concert. That's from Simon. Black Sabbath could play the Bowl, says Randall. They've got a new album and are touring in December. They filled the Bowl up before, back in 2001. Well, there you go, you see. I don't know if Sabbath could fill it on their own. They'd have to have a pretty good bill for Sabbath. They do, they don't do it. I don't think they do it anymore. Ozfest. An Ozfest could fill it. Sabbath on their own, I know it's kind of pretty much the original lineup, but I'm not convinced. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR. You can go there. You can leave your comments on all of the stories we've been talking about throughout the day. And they will all get looked at, trust me. Even if we don't read them out on the air, it all gets looked at some point. That's a promise. Right, travel news now. Here's Adam Glynn.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A1 at the Black Cat roundabout looking quite slow at present. We've got queues approaching the roundabout, and the A421 in the area is looking a little slow as well. Southbound A1M, you'll find a bit of traffic between junction 8 at Hitchin and 7 at Stevenage. And the A1 as you get into London is queuing in Edgware between Apex Corner and the Broadway at Mill Hill. M25 anti-clockwise, still looking slow between junction 20 at Kings Langley and 15 at the M4. Looking at the M40 on the cameras, that's not doing too badly at the minute. Things are still looking a bit busy on that exit slip to the M25. Other than that, it's all moving fine. Speed sensors are picking up that it's slowing down a fair bit on Stoke Road, the A4146 toward the A5 near Bletchley. And if you're using the A5 in Dunstable, that's slow both ways approaching the A505, the Luton Road. Trains, meanwhile, are doing pretty good. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Adam. Right, well, that's it. That's a lot from me. Back tomorrow at 6. We are going to have a Gilbert O'Sullivan song tomorrow morning, without a shadow of a doubt. I'll try not to sing along, but it's going to be difficult. Back tomorrow at 6. JVS is up next. Until then, ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JBS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's Wednesday, and on this morning's big phone-in, how do you feel about the people celebrating Margaret Thatcher's death?